Chapter 1180. Ka 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 ka. The two arenas started to merge without any warning. Before everyone's eyes, they formed a vast arena that slowly rose up, looking like a huge dragon rising up, giving off an extraordinary aura. What's going on? Why did the arenas suddenly merge? The semifinals have not started yet. This is strange. The experts of the City Lord's residence did not attack the person in the spatial tear. Who exactly is it? Why is his entrance so tyrannical? The sudden change completely disrupted the rhythm. Such a phenomenon had never happened in the outstanding talent summits that had been passed down for hundreds of years. At the same time, everyone started guessing who the person who opened the spatial tear was. Bai-Yin frowned slightly. He thought of a possibility, but could not be sure. The four people in the arena were also at a loss. They did not know what was going on. When the spatial tear completely opened, the figure inside finally appeared. A white figure drifted out of the spatial tear, appearing somewhat suspicious. The white-robed bladesman. The moment Xiao Chun appeared, everyone immediately recognized him, causing countless cries of surprise. It really is the white-robed bladesman. Unexpectedly, he appeared in such a manner. However, he has already been deemed to have forfeited. Even if he found an expert and barged in, it would be useless. No matter what, Xiao Qin's arrival caused a huge commotion. This was especially so for the cultivators who came specially for him. They were all very excited, exchanging words nonstop. The four people in the arenas all showed different expressions. Some were shocked, some were pleasantly surprised, some were unperturbed, and some were disdainful. The one who felt shocked was the human demon Mo Ran. Naturally, the one who felt pleasantly surprised was Sima Lingxian. Huang Yun was as arrogant as ever, not caring about Xiao Qin at all. Lung Xian's expression was like a block of ice that would not melt for 10,000 years. There was no change in his expression at all. The one who came is the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun. In the direction of the platform, an old man with blazing eyes shouted at Xiao Chun, who was on the platform. Xiao Chun, who had been tossed over from the Flame Rock Castle, was still somewhat dizzy and could not react immediately. Hence, the old man had to ask again. The one who came is the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun. Hand over your outstanding talent token and verify your identity. Xiao Chun had already guessed where he was based on the scene and the four people in the arenas. When he heard the question again, he nodded and admitted his identity, then handed over the outstanding talent token. Very good. Your identity is verified. Hand over the forceful kill token that the Flame Rock Sovereign gave you. Forceful kill token? Is it this? Xiao Chun took out a medallion that the hemp-robed old man had tossed to him. He had not looked at it carefully. Now that he looked at it, there was indeed the word kill written on the front and order carved on the back. When the tens of thousands of spectators at the scene heard the three words, forceful kill order, their expressions changed at the same time, and they sucked in a deep breath. It really is the forceful kill order. Grandpa actually gave him this chance. Bai-Yan's expression turned grave. He said in some disbelief, if Xiao Chun fails, this old man will lose all your face. In the end, the City Lord's residence, the organizer of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, was controlled by the 13 Great Bandits. The 13 Great Bandits provided all the prizes. Hence, every Great Bandit had some special privileges. The Forceful Kill token was one of them. As the name suggested, the Forceful Kill token allowed one to forcefully enter the Outstanding Talent Convention. It was given to the outstanding talents who could not make it in time for some reason or missed the deadline. Originally, according to the rules, once one gave up, one would not be able to participate. However, it was different with the Forceful Kill token. One could enter midway. However, there was a prize for using the Forceful Kill token. After using the Forceful Kill token, one could only fight for the first rank. If one did not obtain the first rank, it would be considered a failure. Furthermore, one had to take turns challenging others. One had to defeat as many people as there were in the arena. After one defeated everyone, one could turn the tables and snatch the first rank. Not only would one obtain the glory of the first rank, but one would also obtain the rewards for the number of people one defeated. For example, there are currently 4 people in the arena. If Xiao Chun defeated all of them, he would obtain all the rewards for the top 4. However, if he lost to any one of them, the rewards for the other 4 would be doubled. The great bandit who gave Xiao Chun the forceful kill token would pay for it. To a great bandit, the rewards were not something that would hurt them. However, they would lose all their face. In history, no one had ever used the forceful kill token and succeeded in breaking through. Everyone ended up in failure. Even now, no one had seen the forceful kill token for several hundred years already. After Xiao Chun handed over the forceful charge medallion, he learned about its use from the discussions of the spectator stands. There are also some rules. For example, when there were fewer than 4 people, one would have to face the combined attacks of the others after using the forceful kill token. If the final champion was already decided, one could not use the forceful kill token. Xiao Chun appeared at the right time. There were still 4 people in the arena. However, the restrictions still existed. The other side was still taking turns challenging others, so there was no time to rest. Xiao Chun looked around at the 4 people in the arena. First, he looked at Huang Yun, the young outstanding talent with a scarlet saber on his back. He radiated pride from his entire body. After sizing up Xiao Chun, he no longer paid him any attention. Then, he looked at Lung Exin, the cold swordsman of the Ice Sea. From the start to the end, Xiao Chun could not make out his true expression. The human demon sees Mo Rand took the initiative. When he saw Xiao Chun's gaze, his lips curled up in a smile filled with murderous intent. Finally, Xiao Chun's gaze landed on the grave and stern Sima Lingxian. Xiao Chun felt very complicated about him. The hatred from back then had already faded away. The higher one stood, the further one could see. Both Xiao Chun's breadth of vision and breadth of mind had undergone a great change. Now, all Xiao Chun pursued was the great Tao. When Sima Lingxian looked at Xiao Chun, aside from hatred, there was also a fierce fighting spirit. It was like a flame was burning in his eyes. However, when Sima Lingxian saw Xiao Chun's indifferent expression, he felt like this fire was burning in a calm lake, unable to truly burn. The forceful charge token is correct. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chun, are you sure you want to use the forceful charge token? The old man in the city lord's residence asked from the platform after he checked the forceful charge token. Xiao Chun raised his head and looked in the direction of the platform. Without hesitation, he replied calmly, I'm sure. It was as Yu Bingyun said, it was rare for one to get drunk. However, after getting drunk, one would eventually have to wake up and face the situation. The words, I'm sure, immediately set the crowd abuzz. Everyone liked the unexpected to happen. It was just like how people hoped for a dark horse to appear in a big competition. Now that Xiao Chun appeared with a forceful charge token, it was an exciting surprise. Very well, you can choose your opponent freely. Let's begin. Huang Yun and the other 3 did not shrink back at all. As they looked at Xiao Chun, their fighting spirits surged. They did not fear that he would choose them as his first opponent. The others were also guessing who Xiao Chun would choose as his first opponent. It should be the human demon sees Mo Ran. Of the 4, he should be the weakest. It is hard to say. Mo Ran's defense is the strongest. If Xiao Chun chooses him, he will exhaust a large amount of law energy in the first match. It is not worth it. Then, it should be Sima Lingxian or Lung Exin. Coincidentally, these 2 are swordsmen. A bladesman would have an advantage against a swordsman. Everyone had their own opinions. However, no one thought that Xiao Chun would choose Huang Yun. After all, Huang Yun's strength was clear for all to see. I choose him. To everyone's surprise, Xiao Chun chose Huang Yun, locking his gaze on this person. According to the rules, the other 3 left the arena. Everyone was a little surprised by this result. Wasn't it a little too risky to choose the strongest Huang Yun for the first battle? Or perhaps this white-robed bladesman was extremely confident in his own strength and did not care who he chose or not. Everyone saw that when it came to choosing carefully, Xiao Chun did not even think before choosing Huang Yun. If that was the case, then Xiao Chun was too arrogant. You are courageous. Soon, You will regret your choice. Huang Yun was clearly enraged that Xiao Chen chose him in the first round. He suppressed his anger and said ruthlessly, "That's right." The white-robed Xiao Chen appeared calm and collected. His expression did not change at all. He said indifferently, "I am Xiao Chen. Please give me some pointers." "In that case, please remember my name, Huang Yun. I am the bladesman who will make your reputation fall in Dark City. Fight!" Huang Yun shouted ferociously and made the first move. His figure flashed, and he drew the scarlet saber on his back. When the saber light appeared, blood immediately dyed the sky red. The scene was extremely horrifying. A berserk killing chi surged out from Huang Yun's body. Together with the saber light that dyed the sky red, this saber strike was incredibly strong. The first move he used was a profound martial technique. This Huang Yun is trying to end this quickly. Blood dyeing the world. This was the Blood Shark Sovereign's trump card before he became a sovereign personage. This Huang Yun already has some of the Blood Shark Sovereign's demeanor. The white-robed bladesman is in trouble. He should not have chosen Huang Yun. He probably will not be able to last even one match. The terrifying aura caused everyone to be shocked. Only now did they realize that Huang Yun had been holding back all this time. Even Bai Yin, who lost to Huang Yun in one move earlier, was flabbergasted. He clearly knew that the other party did not rely on the chaotic Ling treasure armor to defeat him. Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and executed Thunder Dragon steps. Then, he quickly retreated. His body moved like a dragon, flickering with electric light. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. Soon, Xiao Chun was forced into a corner. The scarlet clouds in the sky seemed to occupy the entire sky above the arena. Huang Yun's horrifying saber light was like a ferocious, man-eating beast. It opened its maw wide, wanted to swallow up Xiao Chun. Retreat again. Xiao Chun, who had already taken 11 steps back, retreated to the edge of the arena. If he took another step back, his body would be in the air. If he fell to the ground, he would be out of the arena, automatically admitting defeat. Such a thrilling scene made everyone's heart beat faster. No one expected Huang Yun's true strength to be so ferocious. The moment he executed his killing move, he forced the white-robed bladesman to take 12 steps back and fly out of the arena. "Ha! You're only SOSO. Scram." Chapter 1181. Huang Yun laughed maniacally and soared into the air. Then, he chopped down with his saber and knocked Xiao Chun to the ground. "Sorry, you should be the one rolling down." After taking 12 steps, Xiao Chun had already pushed the Great Perfection Thunder Dragon steps to its limits. If he wanted to advance another level and take 18 steps, he would have to cultivate the Thunder Dragon steps to consummation. Xiao Chun did not know how powerful the 12 steps would be when he executed the Thunder Dragon chop. This was because he had only taken 7 steps at most before. However, Xiao Chun knew that the Thunder Dragon chop that took 12 steps could definitely defeat this blood dyeing the world. Whoosh! Xiao Chun retreated again and again. Just as the yellow cloud was about to soar into the air, he suddenly took a step forward. As Xiao Chun took this step, he instantly drew the Lunar Shadow Saber and launched the Thunder Dragon chop, which had accumulated a huge amount of energy. Thunderclouds filled the sky like an ancient thunder dragon waking up. It roared ferociously and sent down lightning, forcing back the unbridled scarlet clouds. A strange expression appeared on Huang Yun's face. However, he did not have time to think. Amid the tens of thousands of lightning bolts, that white figure had already charged over with his saber. Kung Chong. The saber lights clashed, and Huang Yun was knocked back by Xiao Chen's saber. When Xiao Chun stopped retreating, he knocked Huang Yun back with 1 step. However, this was not over yet. The place where Xiao Chen's feet landed happened to be where he was earlier. The moment his feet touched the ground again, lightning dragons soared out from under Xiao Chen's feet. Electric light burst out, and Xiao Chun moved like a berserk dragon. Xiao Chun walked forward step by step. The speed at which he advanced was 10% faster than the speed at which he retreated. With every step, a lightning dragon soared out from under Xiao Chen's feet, roaring ferociously at the sky and causing lightning to fall continuously. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. He took 12 steps in a row. With each step, the number of lightning dragons would double. By the time he finished taking 12 steps, it was unknown how many lightning dragons were dancing around Xiao Chun. Lightning descended from the sky, looking even more horrifying. The scarlet clouds that dyed the sky red were torn to shreds, a tragic sight to behold. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber, and the dragons fell to the ground, no longer daring to act presumptuously. As for Huang Yun, who had been clamoring for Xiao Chun to get out of the arena, he was beaten black and blue. He flopped on the ground a few times before rolling off the arena, his body charred. Looking at the tumbling yellow cloud being defeated by Xiao Chun just like that, no one had expected this. The lightning fell, and the dragons fled far away. Xiao Chun stood upright while holding his saber. He looked around and fixed his gaze on the human demon C's Mo Ran. The person in the second match had made his choice. For some reason, when Sima Ling Xian, who had been hoping to be the first to be chosen, saw Xiao Chen's gaze move away from him, he heaved a sigh of relief. He inexplicably heaved a sigh of relief. When he came back to his senses, he was immediately startled. He immediately extinguished this thought, and his fighting spirit was reignited. Mo Ran, who was chosen, laughed heartily and landed on the arena. Mo Ran's eyes filled with wildness as he looked at Xiao Chun. He said, "I thought that you would choose me last. Unexpectedly, I am the second. You probably do not know how horrifying the defense of my physical body is." When Xiao Chun heard this, he could not help but reveal an interested expression. He said, "How horrifying is it? No matter how strong your defense is, it cannot block endless attacks." "Is that so? In that case, feel free to give it a try." Mo Ran smiled coldly, and his skin, which gave off a metallic glow, started to change rapidly. Soon, he could no longer feel any flesh on his skin. It had all turned into hard metal. His entire body turned into a body of steel, completely separated from his physical body. It looked extremely strange. There would always be something strange about the body of a human demon mixed blood, something very strange. Mo Ran stomped heavily, and countless cracks immediately appeared on the ground. The ground shook violently. When he moved, it was like a tall mountain raging, shaking the sky and ground. After Mo Ran stomped, he looked at Xiao Chun in a mocking manner, not showing any fear. Xiao Chun narrowed his eyes. The other party's skin had already turned completely metal. Furthermore, he cultivated a special body tempering cultivation technique, making this body of steel even harder. In terms of physical body, this person's was no weaker than Xiao Chen's Blue Dragon War body. In terms of defense, this person might even be slightly stronger. This was the natural advantage of his bloodline. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. Xiao Chun took 7 steps. As a lightning dragon sword, he executed the Thunder Dragon Chop with a vast aura. Mo Ran knew how strong this move was, so he did not intend to clash head-on. He formed hand seals and executed a defensive martial technique, defending with all his might. Dang! The Thunder Dragon Chop broke through Mo Ran's defensive barrier, but its might weakened significantly. When it struck Mo Ran's body, it gave off metallic sounds. However, Mo Ran's skin did not move at all. The might of 7 steps was not enough. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows and took 12 steps. Then, he executed the move that chased Huang Yun off the arena. However, Mo Ran had already seen this move before. He knew very well the might it contained. Xiao Chun did not think of breaking it or clashing head-on. He brought out his full potential, purely defending. Kasie, the defensive barrier broke again, and the saber light struck Mo Ran's body, knocking him back step by step. Sparks flickered endlessly on his body. However, Xiao Chun still did not severely injure his opponent, unable to injure him severely. Mo Ran smiled faintly and casually waved his hand, knocking away Xiao Chun's saber. When he tried to grab the saber, Xiao Chun quickly pulled it away. Even though Xiao Chun did not manage to grab the saber, he was not in a rush. He smiled and said, "It is useless. Unless you can perfectly execute a medial grade profound martial technique, you will not be able to break my defense." Unexpectedly, he is the one who hid the deepest. To think that his defense is so monstrous. It is indeed monstrous. If Xiao Chun had not appeared and continued fighting, he might have been the champion. His defense is simply too strong. Even a martial technique that Xiao Chun used to defeat Huang Yun could not injure him at all. I really can't think of how to break his defense. Everyone had already seen Mo Ran's monstrous defense. Earlier, Jiang Feng had already executed a medial grade profound martial technique, but he had not succeeded in breaking his defense. However, even now, Xiao Qin's Thunder Dragon Chop could not break the defense of Mo Ran's physical body. This was truly horrifying. This physical body is somewhat problematic. Do I have to use Instant of Glory? Xiao Qin's figure floated off the ground. As he looked at Mo Ran, who was covered in sparks, he entered deep thought. Since the other party's physical body is so strong, why is he just standing there and letting me hit him? Xiao Qin remained extremely calm. He did not lose his ability to think independently because of the other party's mockery. This was because Xiao Chun was very clear that purposely mocking the other party was part of the strategy. Mo Ran mocked Xiao Chun from the very start, saying that Xiao Chun would not be able to break his defense. Could this be part of the strategy? Mo Ran wanted Xiao Chun to attack continuously. Then, when Xiao Chun was completely fatigued, he would attack again to end the battle. If that was true, then Mo Ran's physical body should have a weakness. Otherwise, with such a strong physical body, Mo Ran would not fear Xiao Chen's martial technique. Then, he could just chase after Xiao Chun and attack him. This fellow definitely has a weakness. It looks like the White Robe Bladesman does not live up to his reputation. Is that all you are capable of? Mo Ran's lips curled up as he mocked Xiao Chun. Then he walked over step by step, closing in. However, Xiao Chun was completely immune to Mo Ran's mockery. This made Mo Ran even more certain that Xiao Chen's physical body had a weakness. That's it. A thought flashed in Xiao Chen's mind as he stared at Mo Ran's footsteps. From the very start, this fellow's feet had never left the ground. Mo Ran always had one foot on the ground. When Xiao Chun looked carefully, his feet and the ground seemed to follow some kind of pattern, a cycle of being one with nature. That must be it. Mo Ran's strongest defensive state requires his feet to be on the ground. Otherwise, Mo Ran must have some kind of treasure on him, like Xiao Chen's Neptune crown. He can only execute the water domain while standing on water. After Mo Ran left the ground, he would not be able to execute that strongest defensive state. What's wrong? Are you prepared to admit defeat? If you admit defeat now, I can let you leave with dignity. Otherwise, I'll make you scram the same way you made Huang Yun scram. Mo Ran's killing chi suddenly gathered and pressed down on Xiao Chun. Mo Ran's exposed skin flickered with a dazzling light. The visual impact was very strong. This was the body of steel that made ordinary people despair. You want me to admit defeat? Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said calmly, "You are the one who can't continue pretending, right? How did Huang Yun get down? You'll do the same." Chi. The lunar shadow saber spun around in Xiao Chen's hand before stabbing into the ground. When Mo Ran saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. However, it was already too late. The instant the saber stabbed into the ground, Xiao Chen's law energy poured in frantically. In that instant, the ground cracked and a force burst out. The cracked ground turned into countless rocks, which were blasted into the air by this force. Mo Ran bore the brunt of the force, flying into the air along with the rocks under his feet. Whoosh! In the 1,000th of a second after Mo Ran flew up, a saber light as bright as the moon flashed. Mo Ran, who was not known for his speed in the first place, could not dodge at all. When this saber light arrived, Xiao Chen's 60% comprehended saber soul, which was at its limit. Although this flawless bright moon was fast, with the support of the 60% comprehended saber soul, its might was not weak at all. In terms of sharpness, it was even better than the Thunder Dragon Chop. Kassier. When the saber descended, Ran shrieked miserably. A long, bloody gash appeared, nearly chopping off half his body. Blood flowed continuously from the wound on Ran's chest. As he retreated, he left a bloody path on the ground. Ran stood at the edge of the arena. His body wobbled a few times, but he did not get knocked back by the saber. How did you discover it? Ran covered his wound with one hand, appearing extremely shocked. He had not expected his greatest secret to be exposed in just a few moves. At this point, the victor was already decided. Xiao Chun was not stingy. He answered honestly, "In the next fight, there is no need to speak too much. If you overdo it, you will expose your lack of confidence." Chapter 1182. If not for the other party purposely mocking him, causing Xiao Chun to doubt him, he would not have found the other party's weakness so quickly. Clearly, Ran could not accept such an answer. He was stunned for a few seconds before he said, "Just you wait. When my Earth-returning origin art reaches the 10th layer, I will no longer have any weaknesses. Then, I will come back to take revenge for today." Right after Ran spoke, he quickly left the arena while holding his wound. Then, he left the city without looking back. Xiao Chun looked at the other party's departing figure and entered deep thought. He had already found the other party's weakness. In the end, when Xiao Chun chopped down, he did not even manage to break the other party's ribs. This fellow's physical body was indeed ridiculously strong. If Xiao Chun could fix this weakness, he would definitely be a difficult opponent to deal with. Xiao Chun took note of this youth expert from the Human Demon Sea. After winning 2 matches in a row, Xiao Chun remained calm and composed. The spectators found his state incredulous. None of the people who could make it into the top 4 of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting were weak. They were all dragons and phoenixes among men, geniuses among geniuses. However, Xiao Chun came with a forceful kill token. It looked like he could easily send Huang Yun and Ran away without any mercy. What excellent judgment! Perhaps he can really break the 10,000-year-old record and become the first outstanding talent to succeed in killing someone with a forceful kill token. It is hard to say. The further he goes, the more trump cards he will expose, and the more exhausted he will be. While it looked like he won the earlier 2 matches easily, I am sure that he exhausted a significant amount of his law energy. That's right. Furthermore, Lung Xin and Sima Lingxian are 2 great sword experts. They're not that easy to deal with. They are both aiming for the top rank. I wonder who Xiao Chun will choose for this match. Based on their earlier performances, Lung Xin and Sima Lingxian seem to be about the same. If it were me, I would choose Sima Lingxian. Lung Xian's aura is too scary. I keep feeling that he is unfathomable. After 2 battles, the cultivators who did not have high hopes for Xiao Chun now had a glimmer of hope. They all started guessing the direction of the future battles. After defeating Ran, Xiao Chun's expression still did not change. Xiao Chun looked around at Sima Lingxian and Lung Xin before fixing his gaze on Lung Xin. A cold wind blew, and the temperature in the arena plummeted. Lung Xin said expressionlessly, "I am Lung Xin of the IC. Please give me some pointers." After greeting Xiao Chun, Lung Xion's aura turned even colder. His gaze roamed around every corner of Xiao Chun's body. The swordsman's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. As long as Xiao Chun showed any weakness, he would discover it in a breath's time and launch an attack at lightning speed. Xiao Chun's heart tightened. When he saw the other party's gaze, he knew that he had met a difficult opponent. This opponent was probably more difficult to deal with than the previous 2. Whoosh! Whoosh! A cold wind blew in the arena. The 2 looked at each other, clashing their auras. They were not in a rush to make a move. Instead, they waited for the moment the other party lost his cool. Then, they would make a move and gain the upper hand in one go. In a battle between a bladesman and a swordsman, the moment one made a move, the one who gained the upper hand would determine the outcome of the match. The one who gained the upper hand would not be able to turn the situation around. Of course, this was under the premise that the 2's cultivations were about the same. It was impossible for one to be perfect and flawless. Even if one stood still, one's aura fluctuated, one's state of mind fluctuated, one's thoughts fluctuated, and one's blood flowed at a steady pace. Without exception, there would always be an opening. A light seemed to flash in the two's eyes amid the cold wind. At the same time, they caught hold of the other party's small opening and instantly attacked. The two drew their sabers and swords at the same time. Before they clashed, the berserk lightning saber soul and the cold sword soul formed their own auras and clashed intensely. Metallic clangs rang out endlessly, spreading to every corner of the arena. It was like there were thousands of swords and sabers clashing with each other. Saber lights and sword images flickered everywhere. Lightning and ice clashed. Thunder roared together, tearing out countless bolts of lightning. The ice was merciless, and thousands of snowflakes drifted down. Dang! The two leaped up. Amid all sorts of mysterious phenomena, their figures flickered, and their sabers and swords clashed for the first time. The hum of the saber and the sword was like a dragon roar, piercing through the clouds and tearing apart the dark clouds. A strand of golden sunlight descended, looking like holy light. It focused on the instant Xiao Chun and Lung Xian clashed, forming a shocking scene. Whoosh! 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 The two retreated the moment they clashed, executing their strong movement techniques and quickly exchanging moves. Every time the two clashed, the sound of sabers and swords clashing would turn into clear dragon roars soaring into the clouds, tearing through the clouds and sending down a strand of golden light. Be it Xiao Chen's Thunder Dragon steps or Lung Xian's mysterious footwork, they were both extremely fast. Ordinary people would not be able to clearly see their movements. Only when the sacred light descended did the two figures solidify into a picturesque scene in front of everyone's eyes. Watching the two's intense battle was like looking at an extremely marvelous painting. As one flipped through the pages, they gradually entered a wonderful state. As the painting imprinted itself in their minds fluctuated and their bloodlines swelled. Flawless bright moon, boundless water moon. After another 100 moves, the two, who were evenly matched, each executed a killing move and started an intense clash, trying to gain the upper hand. Two bright moons appeared behind each of them. Xiao Chen's saber light was the radiance of the bright moon when it was at its most resplendent, boundlessly tyrannical. However, Lung Xian's sword light was the serene, peaceful, and inseparable entanglement of the sea and the bright moon. It was much more complicated than Xiao Chen's simple tyranny. The two moons clashed. One side was the flawless moon, shining with unparalleled radiance. The other side was the reflection in the water. On the surface, it looked like a moon, but in reality, it was still a layer of cold water. After one move, the clouds in the sky, which were riddled with holes, completely shattered. A vast expanse of golden light poured down like a waterfall. Compared to the dark sky around them, the two people bathed in golden light appeared incredibly holy, even though their clothes were tattered and their bodies were bleeding profusely. There was an indescribable aura lingering around them. It caused people to feel a sense of worship in their hearts for no reason. The reason for this was that the two of them were true bladesmen and swordsmen. They possessed the extremely rare saber soul and sword soul in this world. Xiao Chun stood upright while holding his saber. Drops of blood slowly dripped off the tip of his saber. On the other side, drops of blood also dripped off the tip of Lung Xian's sword. The moment the two executed their killing moves, they simultaneously injured each other. However, the results were very different. Xiao Chun looked at Lung Xian and said, "Your sword technique is on par with my saber technique. However, my physical body is much stronger than yours. If we continue fighting, you'll be the one to lose." Lung Xian's complexion paled slightly. He tacitly agreed with Xiao Chen's words, but he did not intend to admit defeat. "I still have one more chance. If I cannot defeat you with this move, I will admit defeat." This Lung Xian before Xiao Chen possessed a unique level of attainment in sword techniques and was very strong. If not for his saber soul slightly restraining the other party and his physical body being much stronger than the other parties, Xiao Chun would not have been able to gain such a huge advantage in the earlier move. In the same move, Xiao Chen's saber light pierced through the other party's left chest. However, Lung Xian's sword light only opened a wound in his right shoulder, not even breaking a bone. Lung Xian's icy sword intent continuously corroded the wound, making Xiao Chun feel extremely uncomfortable. However, compared to Lung Xian's wound, Xiao Chen's was in a much better state. In terms of sword techniques, Xiao Chun believed that Lung Xian was no weaker than him. This was even because Lung Xian spent most of his time on his attainment in sword techniques. In terms of technique, Lung Xian might even be stronger than Xiao Chun. However, Xiao Chun held the advantage mainly because he had created his own flawless saber Dao. Unfortunately, Xiao Chun did not just cultivate saber techniques. His body tempering also stood out from the crowd, looking down on everyone. Unless the other party's sword techniques were much stronger than Xiao Chen's, Lung Xian would not be able to defeat Xiao Chun if they were evenly matched. Upon hearing that Lung Xian wanted to compete with him again, Xiao Chen's interest was immediately piqued. What kind of sword strike could make the other party feel that he could turn the situation around despite being at such a disadvantage? Xiao Chun said seriously, "Very well. I'll give you the opportunity to execute this sword strike. I will not drag this out." If Xiao Chun dragged things out, he would only need to exchange another 100 moves, not giving Lung Xian a chance to execute that sword strike. By relying on his physical body, Xiao Chun would be able to secure victory in this battle. Now, if Lung Xian sent out that sword strike, victory would be uncertain. However, Xiao Chun did not care. He had never intended to participate in this outstanding talent summit meeting in the first place. It was just an accident, throwing the Flame Rock's sovereign into this whirlpool. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. If Xiao Chun wanted to fight, he would fight to his heart's content. As for victory or defeat, Xiao Chun was already very indifferent to it. His mental state already far surpassed that of his peers. Surprise flashed in Lung Xian's eyes. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun agreed so readily. It seemed like Xiao Chun was even more indifferent to victory than Lung Xian himself. "Many thanks." Lung Xian bowed slightly and said sincerely after a while of silence. Such a scene moved the expressions of all the cultivators present. They could not help but admire the breadth of mind of the white-clad bladesman. Even after gaining a great advantage, Lung Xian could still calmly take a step back, all for the sake of seeing the sword strike that the other party said could defeat him. In everyone's mind, there were two words: the demeanor of a king. Naturally, the one who felt this the deepest was none other than Sima Lingxian. Sima Lingxian kept feeling that he was on a completely different level from Xiao Chun. Even though their cultivations were similar and their martial techniques and cultivation techniques were weaker, Sima Lingxian still felt like he could never catch up. But he had a feeling that he would never be able to catch up. An indescribable sense of despair and pain appeared in his mind. Sima Lingxian's right hand, which held the sword, trembled. His left hand clenched into a fist, and his nails dug into his flesh. Scarlet blood seeped out. "You are too polite. You and I are both passionate people. There is no need to be so reserved. Please." Xiao Chun extended his hand and made an inviting gesture. Then he took a stance and held his breath. He did not dare to be careless when facing this unknown sword strike. Chapter 1183. Lung Xian quickly reached out and pressed a few acupoints on his wounds, preventing them from worsening. Then he took a deep breath and started to circulate all the law energy in his body. This sword move is called Million Mighty Eye Soldiers. It is a move that I created myself. It is not perfected yet, and even I cannot control its might. Brother Xiao, please be careful. Million Mighty Eye Soldiers? What a tyrannical name. They all say that your understanding of the will of ice is unique. In that case, I look forward to it. Buzz. Lung Xian's expression turned solemn, and the sword in his hand started humming. This humming was different from an ordinary sword humming. Everyone could hear the lofty sentiments of a powerful army amid this humming. The sound of 10,000 horses galloping resounded in all directions. A vast, hot-blooded killing chi continuously spread out from Lung Xian's body. It was hard to believe that the berserk killing chi came from Lung Xian, who looked like he did not have any hot-bloodedness at all. Lung Xian vomited a mouthful of blood on his sword. The humming sword suddenly stopped. All the aura in his body suddenly condensed, and he thrust his sword forward fiercely. After that, Lung Xian stood where he was and quickly brandished his sword. Sword lights dazzled everyone's eyes. In one breath, Lung Xian executed more than 100 different sword moves. With one sword move, 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers swept through the four seas. Cold lights flickered, and absolute shadows drifted about. The moisture in the air froze under this sword move. These shadows turned into many illusory figures. Each of these figures held a sharp sword, and their long hair fluttered in the wind. The sword lights that Lung Xian sent out from where he stood shone on these figures. However, these figures became even more indistinguishable. Furthermore, the sword moves of each figure were different. It was like the sword lights that Lung Xian sent out from where he stood reflected on these countless figures. Sword images filled the arena without end. Although 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers was an exaggeration, the vast and boundless aura made everyone feel the tyrannical aura of 10,000 horses galloping through the air. Xiaoqin narrowed his eyes. As these boundless sword images charged over, they gave off a vast aura that could sweep through the world, making everyone feel extremely insignificant. No wonder this Lung Xian placed all his hopes on this sword move. This was indeed a horrifying sword move. His mind fell into a state of unprecedented nervousness. With a tap of his foot, he spun backward. Every time Xiaoqin spun around, a mysterious phenomenon would emerge from his body. In the first circle, a blood moon flew out. The red moonlight revealed a desolate feeling that reached the bottom of one's heart. The second time, blood-colored pale remnant flowers flew out of his body. The pale remnant flowers were like blood, filled with grief. On the third lap, a vast expanse of snow appeared under Xiaoqin's feet, and he couldn't see the end of it. Azure dragon images flew out from the fourth circle. A white-robed bladesman surrounded the dragon images. The dragon roars revealed the tyranny of a bladesman. On the fifth round, Xiaoqin stopped in his tracks. He turned around and slashed out with his saber. Before coming here, he had comprehended that the mysterious phenomenon that instant of glory required was not a blind number, but a precise combination. The mysterious phenomenon moved according to Xiaoqin's will, forming different scrolls of glory to deal with all sorts of martial techniques. This was the true instant of glory that he comprehended after crossing the threshold. The blood moon, the pale remnant flowers, the snowy ground, the dragon images, the bladesman, and the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers in hot pursuit. When Xiaoqin executed the final saber strike, everything instantly gathered and formed an incredibly glorious scene. Such a scene appeared before everyone's eyes. A blood moon hung high in the sky, boundless snow fell on the ground, and pale remnant flowers drifted in the air. A powerful bladesman soared into the sky, facing the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers alone. The moment Xiaoqin executed such an incredible martial technique, it deeply shocked all the spectating cultivators. Gorgeous, glorious, tyrannical, and profound. This saber strike was the instant of glory. With this saber strike, what can the 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers do to me? Lung Xian's sword strike was already an eye-opener. Unexpectedly, the will of ice could be used in such a manner. However, Xiaoqin's saber strike toppled everyone's understanding. It turned out that the saber could be used in such a manner as well. State of space? That's not right. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm still far from it. I still have a chance. Lung Xian, who had stopped swinging his sword, was slightly startled. Then, determination appeared in his eyes. Lung Xian pressed 2 fingers on his left hand against the blade of his sword. Then he ferociously sliced upwards, sending out a string of scarlet blood droplets. The glorious picture scroll was immediately stained with blood, and the desolate picture seemed even more miserable. The 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers, who were already suppressed, trembled. Their bodies were stained with blood, as if they wanted to struggle free. Still not giving up? In that case, I will force back your 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers. The tyrannical air of a king flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He pointed with his left hand, and the painting suddenly shattered. The instant the painting shattered, strands of spatial power tore it apart and made it dim. However, with the support of Lung Xian's blood, these sword-wielding figures did not get torn to shreds. These mighty ice soldiers, whose might had decreased significantly, still charged at Xiao Chen majestically. Lofty sentiments welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. He held his saber with one hand and rooted his feet to the ground, not taking a single step back as he hacked down. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen brought out his 60% comprehended lightning saber soul without holding back. Then, he materialized the blue dragon battle armor and chopped down again and again. Thunder rumbled endlessly. With the roar of 10,000 bolts of lightning, the weakened 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers were forced back. One man and one saber forced back 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers alone. The countless sword-wielding figures forced Lung Xian to stop. He vomited a mouthful of blood, and the sword in his hand fell to the ground. I've lost. Lung Xian accepted his defeat. He smiled bitterly and bowed politely, admitting defeat. Then, he picked up his sword and silently left the arena. If Xiao Chen had not reached the threshold of instant of glory, allowing him to assemble the painting as he pleased, he would not have been able to block this sword strike. In the past, the instant of glory would not have been able to block this sword strike. Even now, Xiao Chen had not won easily. Lung Xian's law energy was nearly exhausted, and his body was riddled with wounds. Whoosh! The tens of thousands of spectators all stood up and cheered for Xiao Chen and Lung Xian, who left the arena. The reason was none other than that the final clash between the saber and the sword was simply too marvelous, inspiring excitement in everyone's hearts. They wished they could experience it for themselves. However, given Xiao Chen's current state and the fact that he still had to face this final battle, everyone could not help but worry. Unexpectedly, after the cheers ended, Xiao Chen's final opponent, Sima Lingxian, made a shocking decision. Huang Yun, Emo Ran, and Lung Xian were defeated one after another. Now, Xiao Chen, who came with a forceful charge token, only had to face his final opponent, Sima Lingxian. However, in Xiao Chen's current state, he had used several killing moves consecutively and fought continuously. Furthermore, his opponents were all outstanding talents of the same generation. His law energy was nearly exhausted, and wounds of various sizes covered his body. This was especially so for Lung Xian's 1,000,000 mighty ice soldiers. Although Xiao Chen had relied on his own strength to force back the 1,000,000 mighty soldiers, he was significantly injured as well. Mist covered his bloody wounds. With the obstruction of the ice sword intent, Xiao Chen found it hard to recover from his injuries. If Xiao Chen wanted to recover quickly, he had to stop and focus on removing the ice sword intent. After that, given his physical body, his wounds would heal in a few breaths. However, according to the rules of the challenge, Xiao Chen had no time to stop. He needed to drag his body to face his final opponent. However, under such a situation, which favored Sima Lingxian, he unexpectedly said, "I admit defeat." Sima Lingxuan's expression was extremely complicated. His eyes filled with pain, and his right hand, which held the sword, trembled. No one knew why he was in such a situation. After saying such a thing, Sima Lingxian suddenly chose to admit defeat despite holding the upper hand. It really caused an uproar, and many people didn't expect this. The old man in the city lord's residence was clearly stunned for a while. After a long time, he said, "Sima Lingxian, have you thought it through? Are you really going to admit defeat? In such a situation, even if I win, what is the point? What is the point? 10 years have passed, and I am still inferior to him. What is all my hard work worth? Sima Lingxian seemed to enter a berserk state. His eyes turned bloodshot, filled with despair and pain. Ka! Suddenly, Sima Lingxian drew his sword and chopped it with his palm. This treasure sword that had accompanied him for 10 years broke. The treasure sword broke into many pieces, injuring his palm until it bled profusely. Such a scene stunned everyone. They did not know what kind of blow Sima Lingxian had suffered. The empty-handed Sima Lingxian looked at Xiao Chun with a complicated expression. Then, he rushed off into the distance without looking back. Aside from Xiao Chun, no one knew what happened. As Xiao Chun watched Sima Lingxian leave, he felt sorrowful in his heart. He understood Sima Lingxuan's helplessness, despair, rage, and pain. Back then, when Xiao Chun first left Mo City in the Sky Dome realm, he lost to Chu Chaoyun in half a move. That was also a kind of helplessness and despair. Xiao Chun was fortunate. In the final battle of the Five-Nation Youth Competition, he defeated Chu Chaoyun and got rid of his heart demon. From then on, he set off on an even more glorious path. However, Sima Lingxian worked hard for 10 years and made a name for himself in Dark City. However, when Sima Lingxian saw that he still could not defeat Xiao Chun, his heart inevitably crumbled and he fell into complete despair. This was how cruel this great age was. Sima Lingxian waited for despair. In that case, what awaited Xiao Chun was despair as well. If Xiao Chun saw the undefeatable Chu Chaoyun 10 years later, would he crumble like Sima Lingxian today? No matter what, the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting came to an end. Xiao Chun became the first outstanding talent to use the Forceful Kill token in 10,000 years. Xiao Chun obtained all the prizes for the top 4 places, a total of 5,000 essence stones, and 3 medial grade profound martial techniques. This Outstanding Talent Summit meeting was full of climaxes and surprises. All sorts of changes dazzled everyone. The white-robed bladesman's powerful charge and defeat 3 people in a row. Furthermore, he beat up the crowd while drunk and chopped down the metal testing puppet with one saber strike. This would definitely spread Xiao Chen's name everywhere. This was especially so for the final battle with Lung Xian. It was an eye-opener, a sight that left everyone sighing in amazement. That moment of glory was something that all the cultivators present would never be able to forget. It would be forever imprinted in their minds. Chapter 1184. After rushing back to the Flame Rock Castle with Bayan and Bak 2, Xiao Chun handed 2 of the 3 medial grade profound martial techniques to the 2 of them. He only kept 1 medial grade profound martial technique for bladesmen and the 5,000 essence stones. Not to mention the importance of the medial grade profound martial technique. Just the 5,000 essence stones were already a bountiful harvest for Xiao Chun. With so many essence stones, he would have no problem quickly cultivating to peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. By the time he reached the human demon sea, his cultivation would have reached peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. At that time, he could go to the Thunder King's cave to search for the death fruit. The timing would be just right. After arriving at the Flame Rock Castle, Xiao Chun immediately headed to his courtyard. How could he not know that the hemp-robed old man was the famous peak expert of the Black Sea, the Flame Rock Sovereign? The moment Xiao Chun entered the courtyard, he discovered that Ao Jiao and the hemp-robed old man were currently working on the dragon subduing platform. They were doing major renovations to the already repaired dragon subduing platform. What were they doing? That's not right. How did Ao Jiao get together with this old man? Xiao Chun felt like his brain could not keep up. After sleeping for half a month, too many things had happened that he did not know about. Little Yellow Feather was the first to discover Xiao Chun. It let out a sharp cry and immediately flew over, landing on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Xiao Chun tossed an astral core to Little Yellow Feather. This made the little fellow very happy, flying around Xiao Chun. The hemp-robed old man raised his head and smiled. Big sister Ao Jiao, look who is back. Bang! When Ao Jiao heard that, Her face darkened. She raised her hand and punched, sending the hemp-robed old man flying again. This startled Xiao Chun. He stepped forward and said, "Ao Jiao, this is a senior. Don't mess around." "Who knew?" Ao Jiao smiled and said, "Senior? Let's see if he dares to call me senior." Hee, ignore this old man. How was the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting? Did it fail or succeed? That old geezer sent me away, and without a word of discussion, he threw you over. I was so worried. Ao Jiao asked out of concern, changing to a smiling expression. She revealed a charming smile on her pretty face. Xiao Chun thought to himself, it looks like these two are old acquaintances. He relaxed and gave a simple account of what happened at the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. I was right? I told you not to worry, but you did not believe me. The hemp-robed old man walked over while laughing. He did not put on any airs, not showing the temper of a sovereign martial emperor at all. Ao Jiao's face darkened, still ignoring him. Half an hour later, Xiao Chun finally understood the relationship between Ao Jiao and the hemp-robed old man, the Flame Rock Sovereign. 1,000 years ago was when the Thunder King, Sang Mu, was at his peak. At that time, Sang Mu was already a famous martial emperor, known as the strongest person under sovereign martial emperors. Several sovereign martial emperors did not even dare to fight with Sang Mu, fearing that they would lose their reputation if they lost. When Ao Jiao accompanied the Thunder King to the Black Sea, the Flame Rock Sovereign was only a child of 13 or 14 years old, just starting to show his talent. The Thunder King was very discerning, immediately recognizing the Flame Rock Sovereign's talent. While he was in the Black Sea, he taught the Flame Rock Sovereign for some time. Although they were not master and disciple, they could be considered half a disciple and a guide. Later, when the Flame Rock Sovereign broke through to Emperor Wu, the Thunder King personally protected him, preventing his enemies from interfering and allowing him to successfully clear his great tribulation of wind and fire. The Flame Rock Sovereign returned the favor. When the Thunder King broke through to Sovereign Martial Emperor, he risked his life to help Sang Mu clear his sovereign tribulation. The two were like teachers and friends. In the Flame Rock Sovereign's heart, the Thunder King Sang Mu would forever be his senior and a good friend. He felt even more gratitude and respect. Hey, speaking of which, senior, why do you keep calling Ao Jiao big sister? Xiao Chun asked casually after he understood what was going on. When the Flame Rock Sovereign heard that, he guffawed endlessly. Then he said in a sorrowful tone, "It's a long story. Back then, I was also very miserable. Under someone's punches, I was forced to call her big sister. If I did not, I would have been taught a lesson. Just thinking about it makes me feel bitter. Now I call her that the moment I see her, and I still get beaten up." The Flame Rock Sovereign's aggrieved expression made Xiao Chun smile involuntarily. He roughly understood what was going on. After sleeping for 1,000 years, Ao Jiao still looked like a little girl. However, the Flame Rock Sovereign really became an old man. If such a person continued to call her big sister, he would definitely get angry. However, anger was anger. Xiao Chun could tell that the two's actions were mostly playful, reminiscing about the past. After playing around, the Flame Rock Sovereign revealed a serious expression. Then, he looked at Xiao Chun and said, "I heard from Big Sister that you want to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance?" The Outstanding Talent Summit meeting ended. However, the discussions about the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting were far from over. All the cultivators in Dark City, from the most popular conflagration restaurant to the simple and crude wine stalls at the roadside, discussed this extraordinary Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. The reason was none other than this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. There were simply too many things worth discussing. The magnificent martial techniques that the white-robed bladesman displayed, the unique comprehensions of the will of ice and the will of storm, the previous Overlord Huang Yun's unexpected defeat, and so on. Of course, there was also the most shocking scene. When Sima Lingxian held the upper hand, he suddenly forfeited and admitted defeat. Sima Lingxuan's strength went without saying. After Huang Yun left, he was the most dazzling of all the outstanding youths in Dark City. Many people had expected that the biggest highlight of this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting would be the peak showdown between the old and the new outstanding talents. However, such a dazzling, outstanding talent, who received so much attention, suddenly crumbled after Xiao Chun displayed his strength. This was simply incomprehensible. Some people said that Sima Lingxian had the air of a gentleman and did not want to defeat Xiao Chun, who was in a terrible state. Others said that Sima Lingxian could tell that Xiao Chun still had trump cards that he had not used yet. If he lost to Xiao Chun under such circumstances, he would lose even more face. However, no one could guess what the truth was. The scene of Sima Lingxian drawing his sword and chopping it off with one palm was a ghastly sight. There had to be a story between Xiao Chun and Sima Lingxian that others did not know. However, if the person in question did not say it, others would never be able to guess it. However, the more unfathomable something was, the more it piqued people's curiosity. They could not forget it and discussed it endlessly. As for the main character of this incident, after Sima Lingxian rushed out of Dark City, he appeared dispirited. He walked forward in a daze, not knowing where he was going. He turned a deaf ear to the pointing of the passers-by, completely ignoring them. After 10 years of hard work and boundless glory, Sima Lingxian felt lofty and hot-blooded, wanting to wash away his shame. However, reality was cruel. Those who wanted to chase after Sima Lingxian could only see his back. He was as tall as a mountain, forcing people to look up at him. Blood flowed continuously from Sima Lingxian's hand as he walked. He did not know how long he had walked, but the edge of Dark Island was already before him. The vast sea stretched as far as the eye could see. However, suddenly, Sima Lingxian stopped. His chaotic mind suddenly paused. He saw a familiar figure at the edge of the island. That was an imposing figure standing in front of the sea. The vast and boundless sea did not seem like much. Only this figure appeared before everyone's eyes. Uchi. That figure slowly turned around and moved 10 kilometers like he had teleported. Then, he appeared before Sima Lingxian. Adoptive father. Sima Lingxian could not say anything. His voice sounded choked with emotion. This person was the newly promoted Great Bandit of the Black Sea, the sovereign martial Emperor Sex Boxiong, Sima Lingxian's adoptive father. Sima Lingxian thought about how his adoptive father nurtured him, how much he hoped for him, and how much he cared for him like a relative. Sima Lingxian choked with emotion. He felt very useless. Guilt filled his heart, and tears almost flowed out uncontrollably. When Zhong Boxiong saw this scene, his heart ached slightly. He patted Sima Lingxian's shoulder and did not say anything. Sima Lingxian could no longer control himself. He rushed forward and hugged Sima Lang, crying bitterly. Adoptive father, this child is useless. In the end, I did not manage to take this step. I have let adoptive father down. What kind of pressure did a 7-foot man have to endure to make him burst into tears? In this black sea that did not believe in tears and did not pity the weak, Sima Lingxian cried so sorrowfully. Zhong Boxiong did not say anything. He only released Sima Lingxian after he had cried enough. This vicious and merciless person, who killed all the cultivators of the previous Great Bandit's bloodline, revealed a benevolent expression in his eyes and a faint smile on his face. I know about the Outstanding Talent Summit meetings matter. At the last moment, you chose to let go. In my opinion, you did not use an unfair battle to obtain victory to numb yourself. I feel very gratified. If you had really chosen to make a move in that battle, in my opinion, you would not have been able to walk out of the shadow of hatred. Even if you became a martial emperor, you would not have been able to be conferred king. Zhong Boxiong slowly said something that Sima Lingxian did not expect. Sima Lingxian gaped and said, "Adoptive father, don't overthink. You did well. Don't place too much importance on this mental barrier. In everyone's life, there will always be some opponents who will make you feel despair. You will never be able to surpass them. What we need to do is not to compete with these people. Back then, your father did not understand, harming you and harming himself. Living in this world, we have to live for ourselves, not for our opponents." Sima Lingxian did not understand. He asked anxiously, "Adoptive father, are you asking me to resign myself to fate?" It is not resignation. Let me ask you this. In the past 10 years, have you slacked off? No. Have you given up on working hard? No. Have you felt that you are wasting your time, not improving at all? No. A few quick questions caused Sima Lingshuan's confused eyes to slowly light up. Now, he answered with more and more strength. Do you still feel that you are useless? Sima Lingxian replied sullenly, no. Very good. In that case, let me tell you. Xiaoqian swept through all the outstanding talents of the Kunlun continent's younger generation. Even the disciples of the primes lost to him. In the heavenly starry ocean, he defeated all the outstanding talents with one move. Do you feel that you lost unjustly? Among these people are the descendants of primes, the successors of the deity sovereigns, the disciples of the ghost monarch, the disciples of the corpse god. Every one of them is an outstanding talent. Zhong Buoxiong enunciated every word with a heavy tone. Chapter 1185. When Sima Lingxian heard this, he felt like he was struck by lightning. Adoptive father, you never told me all this before, I never told you either. If Xiao Chun does not advance to martial emperor within 4 years, he will have only 20 more years of lifespan, becoming a meteor and disappearing in a flash. Zhong Buoxiong continued. When Sima Lingxian heard this, he was flabbergasted. This news was simply too shocking, completely unexpected. You feel that he is so strong that he makes others despair, putting you under a mountain of pressure. However, can your pressure be greater than his? Zhong Buoxiong continued. Look at him. He looks like he is about to collapse. Many people in the heavenly starry ocean are laughing at him. After the Qing emperor, many people in the Kunlun realm are waiting for him to become a meteor. In terms of pressure, among the outstanding talents of this generation, no one can surpass him. Zhong Buoxiong continued. I can accept that your talent is not as good as his and your luck is not as good as his. However, don't lose to him in this aspect. A man has to cry unbridledly for once. Tears are the most precious thing in this world. You have to celebrate the fact that you can still cry. Some people can't even cry when they want to. Zhong Buoxiong's words were like a bolt from the blue, striking Sima Lingxian and startling him to his senses, freeing him from the mental barrier that had plagued him for 10 years. Unexpectedly, there were too many unexpected things. The person whom Sima Lingxian regarded as his lifelong rival had actually experienced so much in the Kunlun realm in the past 10 years. Adoptive father, thank you. Sima Lingxian had many things to say, but he did not know how to express them. He could only say thank you. Zhong Buoxiong smiled happily. He knew that Sima Lingxian had completely broken free of his mental barrier. In this age of geniuses, Sima Lingshuan's future accomplishments would definitely surpass his own. Zhong Buoxiong did not have any children. Back then, when he saved this child from the hands of the Black Sea pirates, he knew that this was a gift from heaven. Ha! Come, father will bring you out to drink. Wipe away your tears, and let's go celebrate. Naturally, Xiao Chun did not know about Sima Lingshuan's transformation. At this moment, he was in the Flame Rock Castle, receiving an exceptionally serious interrogation from the Flame Rock Sovereign. Are you going to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance? Of course, he had to inherit it. Otherwise, how could he obtain the extinct death fruit? If he did not cultivate the life and death art and condense the heart of an emperor, he would not be able to break through the Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor realm and enter the Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor realm within a year. Therefore, when he heard from Ao Jiao that there was a death fruit in the treasure left behind by the Thunder King, Xiao Chen agreed without much thought. In fact, he had already guessed that there was a hidden story. With the huge amount of resources left behind by the Thunder King, with Ao Jiao's concern for him, she should have told him long ago. In the end, it dragged on until he had to obtain the Thunder King's relic before he agreed to bring him to the location of the Thunder King's relic. Seeing Xiao Chun nod, the Flame Rock Sovereign looked at Ao Jiao and asked, Big sis, you did not tell him what kind of responsibility there is for inheriting the Thunder King's relic, right? Ao Jiao revealed a complicated expression. Then, she shook her head and did not say anything. Indeed, the Flame Rock Sovereign revealed an expression of understanding. Then, he looked at the confused Xiao Chun and said, Big Sis did not tell you. In that case, I'll tell you. The person who inherits the Thunder King's relic has to take revenge for him and find out who killed him. Xiao Chun felt confused. There did not seem to be anything wrong with this. Since he inherited the Thunder King's relic, taking revenge for him was naturally reasonable. Brat, it looks like you really do not know what the consequences are for inheriting the Thunder King's relic. The Flame Rock Sovereign said with a grave expression. If it were that simple, I would have inherited the Thunder King's relic many years ago. The Flame Rock Sovereign showed some helplessness on his face. A clear trace of sorrow could be seen in his eyes. The Flame Rock Sovereign was a completely different person from his usual, joking attitude. Given the Flame Rock Sovereign's current cultivation, he would not gain any benefits from inheriting the Thunder King's relic. What the Flame Rock Sovereign wanted to do was to take revenge for the Thunder King. However, the matter did not seem that simple. Hence, the Flame Rock Sovereign did not dare to make a move casually. Perhaps, he felt a deep fear of this unknown enemy. The Flame Rock Sovereign said unhurriedly, "You don't understand. You simply don't understand how strong the Thunder King was back then. When he advanced to Sovereign Martial Emperor, he could already challenge the Prime Thunder King. However, he only barely lost him by one move. In the past, Xiao Chun did not understand how strong the Thunder King was. However, when he heard Ao Jiao talk about the Thunder King, Sang Mu lost to the Thunder King by one move, Xiao Chun did not have a clear idea. However, the scene at the King Conferral Ceremony, where the Thunder Sovereign faced the Heaven-abandoning Deity Sovereign and the Heaven-punishing Corpse God alone without any fear, showed how strong the Thunder Sovereign was. Even when two primes worked together, they could not suppress the Thunder King. In other words, if Sang Mu had not challenged the Thunder King, but Emperor Forsaken or the Heaven-punishing Corpse God, the winner would definitely have been the Thunder King Sang Mu. The faction behind the person who dares to kill the Thunder King might involve a prime. Xiao Chun felt like this was a blow to his head. The number of primes in this world could be counted on one's fingers. Including the primes of the oceanic world, there were no more than 2 hands. Primes represented the strongest people in this world. They had already touched the bottleneck of the peak of the martial epic. No wonder Ao Jiao had not been willing to tell Xiao Chun, not wanting him to inherit the Thunder King's inheritance. If the one who killed the Thunder King was a prime, then it would be impossible for Xiao Chun to take revenge. Most of the primes of the Kunlun realm were gathered in the Kunlun continent. Back then, the Thunder King had been surrounded and attacked in the Kunlun continent. In that case, was the prime who killed him the deity race's Emperor Forsaken, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, or the Heaven-punishing Corpse God? When Xiao Chun raised these questions, the Flame Rock Sovereign rejected them all. He shook his head and said, "No, the Thunder King is not dead. These people would not dare to make a move on Big Brother Sang Mu. He killed the bearer of luck of my human race. The Thunder King's revenge will not rest until he dies." Those who feared the Thunder King's revenge would definitely not make a move. That was to say, the few primes of the Kunlun realm on the surface were not the ones who killed the Thunder King. This was because these primes all had factions and clansmen behind them that they could not bear to part with. They would not dare to fall out with the Thunder King. In that case, if it was not these people, then who was the one behind this? The 18 demon monarchs of the Deep Abyss? The 18 demon monarchs were all as strong as sovereign martial emperors. The top few were even as strong as primes. There were detailed records of all these during the past few demonic tribulations. However, if the demon monarchs wanted to cross the barrier of the sky and enter the Kunlun realm, they would cause a startling commotion. If the demon monarchs really did this, then the cause of the Thunder King's death would not be a mystery to this day, something that no one could resolve. Based on the current information, after the duel between Sang Mu and the Thunder King, the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's ancestor leaked the information, revealing Sang Mu's whereabouts. After that, Sang Mu fought with the mysterious cultivator with severe injuries, leaving behind an irreversible fatal wound. At this point, there was no hope for him. The news of the Thunder King's death quickly spread throughout the entire Kunlun realm. After that, the Thunder King went to the Phoenix's Passion Palace, a holy land, to ask for a lunar stone with divine nature to protect Ao Jiao. After that failed, he killed the holy scion of that time and forcefully snatched away the complete divine-grade lunar stone. After that, the Thunder King made arrangements for his inheritance and returned to the Sky Dome realm, the place where his legend began. Because the Thunder King was already a dead person, although he broke the rule that Emperor Wu could not come to the Sky Dome realm, he did not receive any blame or investigation. Who would care so much about a dead person? Whether the mysterious cultivator who left a fatal wound on the Thunder King was dead or alive was still unknown. Right now, the only key to solving this mystery was the eternal heavenly sword ancestor. In the past, no one knew of the existence of this eternal heavenly sword ancestor. They even thought that he had died long ago. However, Shao Qin knew that not only was this person alive, but he was also closely related to the Thunder King's death. There was still a chance. As long as Shao Qin could pry open this person's mouth, he would be able to learn the truth behind the Thunder King's death. I will inherit the Thunder King's inheritance. Even if the person who killed him will drag in a prime, I will not have any fear. Shao Qin never hesitated. Even if it was a prime, he did not fear it. He only hesitated because he wanted to figure out the crux of this matter and see if he could solve this mystery. Since the mystery could be solved, there was no need for Shao Qin to hold back. The Flame Rock Sovereign did not feel surprised at Shao Qin's choice. He sighed and said, "I knew that you would not hesitate because of this. However, you should not push yourself too hard any time. There are still many people behind you who care about you. Worry about your own life. Don't make those people sad." As the Flame Rock Sovereign said this, his gaze wandered around Ao Jiao. The person he was referring to went without saying. Feeling the somewhat heavy atmosphere, Ao Jiao smiled and said, "Old man, don't try to boost his morale with your words. My Shao Qin might be able to become a prime in the future and sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world." The Flame Rock Sovereign smiled and said, "Sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world. This goal is really big. Even the current Thunder King is only shaking the world with his might." Whether it was a joke or a bold statement, sweeping through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world, this ultimate goal was deeply imprinted in Shao Qin's heart. 3 days later, Shao Qin went to the Dark Blood Pool to collect the final reward of the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. Perhaps Shao Qin's physical body had already reached a certain level and needed to rely on the Blue Dragon Body Nourishing Art to improve it. The Dark Blood Pool did not have a significant effect on Shao Qin. After coming out, Shao Qin took his leave in a low-profile manner. Then, he left Dark City and headed for the distant Human Demon Sea. When Shao Qin thought about Yu Bingyun, who had agreed to travel with him, he felt somewhat disappointed. However, he still had to walk this path. If he wanted to sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled in the world, he had to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years first. The white-robed bladesman left just like that. However, many cultivators would never forget his deeds for the rest of their lives. After this short trip to the Black Sea, the name of the white-robed Shao Qin would become a legend among cultivators thousands of years later. Whether Shao Qin was willing or not, his legendary journey would continue. Whoosh! The bright and beautiful sunlight descended. The sun that Shao Qin had not seen in a long time returned to his eyes. After flying at full speed for 10 days, the Flood Dragon War Chariot finally brought Shao Qin out of the Human Demon Sea. It was time to say goodbye to the lingering dark clouds, the most distinctive dark clouds of the Black Sea. During the short trip to the Black Sea, Shao Qin had gained a lot. He obtained the life and death art that the Blood Sword Sovereign left behind on Blackwater Island, and found the secret technique for breaking through to great perfection in advance, the Blue-Robed Emperor. Chapter 1186. At the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting, Shao Qin successfully obtained an authentic medial-grade, profound martial technique and several thousand essence stones that could support him until he reached peak great perfection of the Blue-Robed Emperor. He got to see outstanding talents from different sea regions. While they might not be a match for Shao Qin, they gave Shao Qin a different combat experience. Shao Qin now knew that there was always someone better. On the path of the martial Tao, There would always be geniuses who could come up with wondrous ideas that he could not even imagine. In 10 days, Xiao Chun had a rough understanding of the medial grade, profound martial technique that he obtained. He discovered that this medial grade, profound martial technique was extremely hard to comprehend. This medial grade, profound martial technique was called thousand-year hegemony establishment. It was boundlessly tyrannical and involved the will of kingship as well as some of the mysteries of the state of time. Even the current primes could not comprehend the state of time. Naturally, Xiao Chun did not, either. As Xiao Chun read on, it was as he expected. The one who researched this martial technique was a powerhouse from the ancient era, Emperor Wu. That was the Kunlun realm's most glorious era of the martial Tao, when martial emperors were as common as clouds and sages filled the streets. Xiao Chun estimated that he would need at least 1 month to understand the meaning of the martial technique. After that, he would need another 5 days to understand some of the basics. After that, he would practice for half a month to see if he could use it as he pleased. If Ba Tu and Ba Yu, who also obtained medial-grade profound martial techniques, or Zhao Feng, knew about such a fast comprehension speed, they would definitely cry. That Zhao Feng worked hard for 2 months and barely managed to execute a medial-grade profound martial technique. He could not control it freely at all. It's true, might was not even as strong as the inferior-grade profound martial techniques that Xiao Chun was familiar with. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a strong wind blew in front. The wind was as sharp as a saber, seeming like it could tear through the air. Xiao Chun put down the secret manual and looked over. He saw a flock of large birds with metallic feathers 20 kilometers away, flying in his direction in a flock. Xiao Chun sensed that these birds were blue-robed emperor, level ferocious beasts. The strong wind from their wings increased instead of weakening after 10 kilometers. Troublesome. There were too many gales. If an ordinary blue-robed emperor was surrounded by these wind blades, they would inevitably suffer some flesh wounds. Frowning slightly, Xiao Chun's eyes shone with a golden light and a white light. The solar true flame and the lunar true flame flew out at the same time and chased each other. Soon, an enormous Taiji yin-yang flame diagram appeared before the war chariot. All the wind blades that flew over were completely incinerated when they collided with the flame diagram. After Xiao Chun withdrew the yin-yang flame diagram, he waved his hand, and little yellow feather flew out excitedly from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chun flew towards the flock of ferocious birds. When these large birds got close, they were no longer a threat to Xiao Chun. They were suitable for little yellow feather to practice with. Ignoring little yellow feather situation, Xiao Chun took out the sea chart and looked at it. He felt somewhat melancholic as he discovered that the sea chart stopped at the Black Sea. The human demon sea was already at the edge of the oceanic world. Most of the sea region between the Black Sea and the human demon sea was the desolate sea. Furthermore, it was very large. There were very few accurate sea charts in the heavenly starry ocean that could record such a large area. Xiao Chun could only find a general direction and explore it slowly. Driving the Flood Dragon War Chariot, Xiao Chun continued his journey. For the remaining 10 days, Xiao Chun only saw the vast sea and speckled desolate islands. Occasionally, he ran into all sorts of ferocious beasts. However, he did not see anyone. Xiao Chun wondered if this Flood Dragon War Chariot was too fast, causing him to go in the wrong direction. If the war chariot was too fast and went in the wrong direction by the time he reacted, he might end up in a completely different direction. On this particular day, Xiao Chun finished cultivating and used the essence stone in his hand. The instant he opened his eyes, he happened to see a group of cultivators in the air. He immediately revealed an expression of joy. After more than 20 days without seeing anyone, one could easily imagine Xiao Chun's current mood. Under Xiao Chun's command, the 4 blue-robed emperor level flood dragons sped towards that group of people. This was a group of blue-robed emperor level experts. The leader was a gray-robed, middle-aged man with a mature air. He was a consummation blue-robed emperor level cultivator. When he saw Xiao Chun driving the Flood Dragon War Chariot over, He waved his hand and immediately got everyone to raise their guard. Friends, there is no need to worry. We do not have any malicious intentions. We're just here to ask for directions. Xiao Chun stopped the flood dragon war chariot 5 kilometers away and made his intentions clear, lest there be any unexpected problems. What a strong war chariot! The 4 flood dragons are all blue-robed emperor level. This is probably the peak king grade war chariot. It is really awe-inspiring. Big brother, that brat seems to be only a great perfection blue-robed emperor level cultivator. Furthermore, he is alone. As Xiao Chun sized up this group of people, they all sized up Xiao Chun as well. When they saw the flood dragon war chariot, their eyes lit up. A strange light flashed in the eyes of the gray-robed, middle-aged man as well. However, when he saw Xiao Chun, he quickly calmed down and stopped his restless subordinates. This is the Dragon Grave Sea. Where did you come from? The middle-aged man asked as he performed a cupped fist salute. This gesture also expressed his goodwill. It was an unspoken rule among cultivators. Xiao Chun put away the flood dragon war chariot and arrived before this group of people with a flash. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "I come from the Dark Sea. What sea region is this Dragon Grave Sea? I have never heard of it before. Can you tell me how far it is from the Human Demon Sea?" The gray-robed man smiled and said, "The Dragon Grave Sea is just a small sea region. It is normal not to have heard of it. However, I believe you have heard of the Distant Sea Dragon Grave, one of the 8 great forbidden lands. Distant Sea Dragon Grave Sea." Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he guessed something. He said, "Could it be that one of the 8 great forbidden lands, the Distant Sea Dragon Grave, is in this Dragon Grave Sea?" The gray-robed man nodded and said, "This is how the Dragon Grave Sea got its name. Our group is planning to go to a dragon grave to adventure. If you want to go to the Human Demon Sea, the direction is correct. However, it is still very far away." Xiao Chun thanked the gray-robed man and asked, "Can you sell me a sea chart? I could pay a high price for it." Unexpectedly, the black-robed man shook his head and rejected Xiao Chun. Just as Xiao Chun felt suspicious, the black-robed man pointed in a direction and said, "If you follow this direction for another 500 kilometers, you will see an archipelago. It is very cheap to buy a sea chart there. There is no need to spend a lot of money to buy it from me." When Xiao Chun heard this, he could not help having a good impression of this middle-aged man. He said, "I am Xiao Chun. Can I know your name? If we meet again in the future, I will definitely thank you heavily." The gray-robed man smiled faintly and said, "I am Lu Hao. There is no need to thank me heavily. It is just a small favor." After they parted, one of the gray-robed man's companions immediately said excitedly, "Big brother Lu, how could you just watch as a fat lamb slipped away? Indeed, just that flood dragon war chariot is worth tens of millions of black astral coins. It is much better than us going to the dragon grave to try our luck. It is just a great perfection blue-robed emperor. There are so many of us, and Big Brother is a consummation blue-robed emperor. What is there to fear?" The gray-robed man's expression turned serious as he said coldly, "You are short-sighted. Not to mention this person, just his eyes alone made me not dare to underestimate him. Just based on the fact that he heard your discussion and still dare to come alone, it means that he is not someone we can deal with." Seeing that there were still a few people in the group who were not convinced, the gray-robed man could not be bothered with them. This group had been put together at the last minute and did not have a deep relationship with them. Some people's hearts had already changed. There was no point in trying to force them to stay together. If any of you want to leave the group, you better scram now. Otherwise, you might end up harming everyone after you go to the dragon grave," the gray-robed man said coldly. The moment the gray-robed man said that, a few people immediately felt tempted. Without saying anything else, they flew in the direction that Xiao Chun had taken. When these people were far away, Lu Hao said indifferently, "There is no need to care about them. They're already dead people." Lu Hao's confident tone sent a chill down the backs of some of the people who did not go. After putting away the flood dragon war chariot, Xiao Chun, who was dressed lightly, followed the direction that the gray-robed man Lu Hao pointed. After walking for 1 hour, he finally saw the silhouette of an island. That was right. It was indeed a group of islands densely packed together, forming a large group of islands. If one looked down from the sky, one would discover that the silhouette of this group of islands resembled a coiling dragon. Normally, one would not see any islands in the desolate sea. Now that he saw so many islands, Xiao Chun revealed a gratified smile. He no longer had to worry about going the wrong way and getting lost. Suddenly, Xiao Chun frowned. He lowered his head to look at the sea under his feet, and a strange expression appeared on his face. However, when he sent his spiritual sense to the bottom of the sea, he revealed an expression of relief. Xiao Chun had only exchanged a few words with that gray-robed man. However, based on his intuition, Xiao Chun concluded that this gray-robed man was more cautious and experienced. Although this gray-robed man was greedy, he could control himself well. He knew who he could offend and who he could not. When Xiao Chun noticed that someone was following him at the bottom of the sea, he found it strange that the gray-robed man had returned. When he used his spiritual sense to see that it was the other three, he understood. Xiao Chun's lips curled up in a faint smile as he stopped. He could not be bothered to waste time with these people. He circulated all the law energy in his body and took the initiative to strike the sea, throwing a palm strike. A resplendent bright moon that looked like fire exploded in the deep sea, kicking up towering waves that surged up continuously for 50 kilometers around. When Xiao Chun raised his palm strike, he executed his killing move, the 1,000-year flame. The bright moon exploded in the water, carrying Xiao Chun's lofty aspirations. It kicked up 1,000 layers of waves and soared through the clouds. Following a few cries, 3 figures leaped out of the water. All of them were covered in wounds, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Although the vast explosive force of the 1,000-year flame was split among the 3, it was somewhat reduced. However, these 3 were caught off guard. They were still thinking about how to sneak attack Xiao Chun when the 1,000-year flame struck them while they were unprepared, severely injuring them in an instant. The unexpected palm strike immediately dispelled these 3's thoughts of robbing Xiao Chun. Horror appeared in their eyes as they tacitly split up and fled. Since Xiao Chun had already made a move, he had no intention of letting these 3 off. If they wanted to target him, then they had to be prepared to pay the price. A murderous intent flashed in Xiao Chun's eyes as he executed Thunder Dragon steps. With every step he took, hundreds of lightning dragons shot out of the seawater. Chapter 1187. One step, one saber strike. After 3 saber strikes, the 3 figures merged. The already severely injured 3 people were chopped in half by the Thunder Dragon chop. This place was already not far from that island. Many cultivators passed by this place. When these people saw Xiao Chun's means, they were all skilled and bold. They did not fear him at all, as they pointed and discussed the saber techniques that Xiao Chun executed in soft voices. What an incredible bladesman. I don't think I've seen him before. He is probably new. He is only a great perfection blue-robed emperor, but he can erupt with the cultivation of a consummation blue-robed emperor. He is indeed strong. That's nothing. After all, this dragon grave sea does not lack experts. It is not strange. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. This was a small interlude in the discussions of the bystanders. However, Xiao Chun did not care too much about them as he rushed to the island. Xiao Chun arrived at a nearby island and bought a sea chart from a shop. Then he spent a little more black astral coins to obtain the information on the Dragon Grave Sea. As its name suggested, the Dragon Grave Sea was named after the distant Sea Dragon Grave, one of the 8 great forbidden lands. The distant Sea Dragon Grave was somewhat similar to the Savage Continent's Dragon Burial Mound. They were both mysterious lands where dragons were buried. However, one was on land, and the other was the sea. Other than the famous Forbidden Ground, the distant Sea Dragon Tomb, there were other dragon tombs of various sizes and dangers in this region of the sea. The dragon graves contained true dragon remains-worth cities, as well as all sorts of natural treasures. If one could obtain any one of them, they would make a huge profit. Furthermore, The dragon graves in this sea all contained extremely precious burial items, which was very wondrous. It was like these distant, ancient true dragons were a race with their own civilization. The burial items included not only all sorts of secret treasures, divine materials, but even martial techniques. Hence, there were many foreign blue-robed emperor cultivators in this archipelago. All of them came to explore the dragon graves, hoping to obtain fortuitous encounters that belonged to them. A thought occurred to Xiao Chun. He was not interested in these dragon graves. Instead, he thought that since there were so many dragon graves, there would definitely be a lot of dragon soul secret treasures and all sorts of natural treasures. Xiao Chun had always needed secret treasures containing dragon souls. Now that the blue dragon body nourishing art had reached the crucial point of the second layer, he urgently needed some secret treasures containing dragon souls to help him break through. There were also many heavenly and earthly treasures. There might even be the flower of life that he needed. The death fruit was among the treasures left behind by the Thunder King. There was no need to worry about it. As for the flower of life, it was something that gave Xiao Chun a headache. Normally, the flower of life only appeared in the human demon sea. Furthermore, it was extremely rare and had not been seen for many years already. There was little hope of finding it here. However, it was good to try his luck. If he could not find it, he would go to the human demon sea to think of another way. "Boss, are there any underground markets here?" Xiao Chun asked the shop owner. Normally, such places would have markets, providing a place for those who risk their lives to obtain treasures from the dragon graves to trade. If he wanted to find good things, he would have to go to the underground market. After all, many of the items were obtained by killing others. It was impossible to sell them openly. If he wanted to make a move quickly and safely, he could only do so through the underground market. Although the shop owner was not a cultivator, he had been doing business here for a long time. Naturally, he knew about this. He answered, "Our island is too small. We do not even have a market. Naturally, there is no underground market. The underground market of the Dragon Grave Sea is on Treasure Dragon Island. You can go there and ask around." "Many thanks." Xiao Qin smiled faintly and thanked the shop owner. Then, he flew to Treasure Dragon Island. In the sea chart, the island where Treasure Dragon City was located was the largest island in this archipelago. It occupied the center of the island, where all the adventuring foreign experts gathered. Xiao Chun walked casually on Treasure Dragon Island. When he glanced around, he saw a group of blue-robed emperor cultivators walking together. Furthermore, they were all great perfection blue-robed emperors at the very least. Small perfection blue-robed emperors were nowhere to be seen. They were not even worth mentioning. The order on the island was extremely chaotic. Fighting and killing could be seen everywhere. This did not surprise Xiao Chun. The movement of cultivators in the Dragon Grave Sea was very high. Aside from some merchant associations that occupied this place for a long time, there were no sects or clans here, so they could not set any rules. The largest city on Treasure Dragon Island was Treasure Dragon City. In terms of size, it was no smaller than Blackwater City, which Xiao Chun had seen before. However, in terms of style, there was no comparison at all. It looked extremely ordinary. There were no guards at the city gates. Actually, there was no need for guards. No one would obediently walk through the city gates. They all flew in without any fear. Xiao Chun thought to himself, "This place is extraordinarily chaotic. After going to the underground market, I have to leave quickly." The location of the underground market was not hard to find. The entrance was in a restaurant in the city. Behind the market were the few strongest merchant associations in the Dragon Grave Sea. No one dared to cause trouble there, maintaining a pretty good trading environment. After Xiao Chun paid, he was easily let in. Then, he followed the long and narrow secret path of the restaurant and arrived at the underground market. The market was made up of several trading streets. Wealthy cultivators could rent a shop and sell their treasures. Most cultivators chose to set up stalls. There were many people on the streets. The cultivators on the main street traded in all sorts of things. The other streets were more detailed, either secret treasures, natural treasures, medicinal pills, or secret manuals. Xiao Chun first went to the place where secret treasures were traded. Then, he casually strolled around. The streets were very crowded. Many cultivators were like Xiao Chun, wandering around the streets. The secret treasures on display at the stalls were all very unique. They looked ancient and gave off a heavy ancient aura. Occasionally, the words carved on the secret treasures were filled with an ancient charm and a foreign aura. After casually chatting with the stall owner, Xiao Chun learned that these were dragon race secret treasures from an extremely distant era. Dragon race. I've heard of true dragons before. What's going on with the dragon race? They actually know how to refine their own secret treasures? Xiao Chun asked, feeling it was strange. That stall owner had nothing to do, so he chatted with Xiao Chun for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "Who can say for sure what happened during the ancient era? It is probably millions of years ago. It is not surprising that there was a glorious dragon race. This was the post-ancient era. Before the post-ancient era, there was the glorious ancient era. Before the ancient era, there was the desolate ancient era. Before the ancient era, there was the distant ancient era." The gap in time was too large. What Xiao Chun had a better understanding of now was that glorious ancient era, which was at the peak of the martial Tao. Xiao Chun knew very little about the desolate ancient era, and even less about the history of the distant ancient era. There are not even many remnants left. Xiao Chun thought about it and agreed. After the end of the Immortal epoch, there were too many mysteries in this world. It was not strange that a glorious dragon race appeared during the distant ancient era. Friend, are there any secret treasures containing dragon souls here? I would like to purchase some. Do you know where I can find them? Xiao Chun asked after putting down the secret treasure in his hand. Secret treasures containing dragon souls? The stall owner smiled and said, "In that case, you have come to the right place. Every secret treasure here has some degree of dragon soul in it. After all, the original owner was a dragon race cultivator. In theory, the spiritual mark left by the original owner is a dragon soul. There is such a thing." This piqued Xiao Chen's interest. He casually picked up a secret treasure and sent in his spiritual sense to search for the spiritual mark left by the original owner. After a while, Xiao Chun felt this spiritual mark and could not help feeling disappointed. It was indeed a dragon soul. However, it was too weak and would not have any effect on Xiao Chun. This is a little too much, right? Xiao Chun smiled and put down the secret treasure. The stall owner did not deny it. He smiled and said, "It is indeed too much. You should be cultivating some kind of cultivation technique that requires the assistance of a dragon soul. In that case, it should be enough for you to buy a superior grade king grade secret treasure. The one you took earlier was only an inferior grade king grade secret treasure." When Xiao Chun heard this, he tested it out. Indeed, it was as the stall owner said. The spiritual mark left by a superior grade king grade secret treasure was an extremely strong dragon soul. This probably had something to do with the original owner's strength. The stronger one was, the stronger the spiritual mark would be. "All right, I'll buy the 3 superior grade king grade secret treasures you have." The stall owner's words were true. Xiao Chun happily paid the bill, spending 2 million black astral coins to buy all 3 superior grade king grade secret treasures. The stall owner had a wide smile on his face as he watched Xiao Chun search for more secret treasures. He muttered, "I wonder where this noble clan's young master came from. He is really straightforward, making a deal with one price." Following that, Xiao Chun verified his guess. It was indeed as the stall owner said. As long as it was a superior grade king grade secret treasure of the dragon race, it would all have a strong dragon soul. However, Xiao Chun did not make a big purchase. There were many eyes in this place, and there were many experts. There was no guarantee that someone would target him. Choosing a cautious method, Xiao Chun spent 2 days in a low-profile manner, sweeping up all the superior grade king grade secret treasures on this street. Xiao Chun's luck was pretty good. He even found a peak-quality king grade secret treasure with a terrifyingly strong dragon soul in it. Although it did not have any intelligence, its ferocious nature still remained, injuring Xiao Chun's spiritual sense. After sweeping through all the secret treasures, Xiao Chun spent more than half of the 70 million black astral coins he had. After that, he rushed to the street where natural treasures were sold, trying to find news about the flower of life. In the end, he was unlucky. There was no news at all. Everyone said that it was a species on the verge of extinction. The flower of life had never appeared in the Dragon Grave Sea before. This was an expected result, so Xiao Chun was not overly disappointed. After he left, he rented a room in a restaurant and started to cultivate the blue dragon body nourishing art. Xiao Chun had already reached the peak of the blue dragon body nourishing art's second layer long ago. He only lacked divine materials, and he would be able to break through. Now, Xiao Chun had bought many secret treasures containing dragon souls and easily made breakthroughs, cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art to the third layer. Xiao Chun still had a considerable number of secret treasures containing dragon souls. He had not exhausted all of them, so he decided to continue cultivating in one go, stabilizing his cultivation of the blue dragon body nourishing art's third layer. When Xiao Chun thought about the cultivation of the azure dragon body nourishing art, it was not something that an ordinary person could cultivate. The resources required were vast. Up until now, Xiao Chun had spent close to 100 million black astral coins. However, he had only reached small perfection of the third layer. There were still 6 more layers, each more important than the one before. Furthermore, Xiao Chun had discovered a shortcut. Secret treasures containing dragon souls could increase his cultivation speed. If he had not discovered this secret, the expenditure would have been even more horrifying. Chapter 1188. However, the benefits were clear. After condensing the blue dragon battle armor, Xiao Chun's physical body would surpass that of the fiend race geniuses with the heavenly spiritual body. 10 days later, Xiao Chun used up all the secret treasures containing dragon souls, including that peak quality king grade secret treasure. More than 40 million black astral coins were gone, just like that. Xiao Chun opened his eyes and spat out a long breath of turbid air. The moment he stood up, the bones in his entire body gave off crackling sounds. Xiao Chun opened his acupoints, and dragon-shaped energy leaked out uncontrollably, spreading throughout the entire room and forming hazy dragon clouds. His entire body felt very comfortable. Xiao Chun felt that his physical body had improved by another level, and his vital qi had increased to 20 dragon force. With a thought, Xiao Chun circulated his energy, and his vital qi surged in his body, giving off dragon roars. After reaching the third layer, Xiao Chun condensed the blue dragon battle armor for the first time. This time, the blue dragon battle armor no longer covered his entire body. Instead, it truly permeated his skin and flesh, forming an incomparably close connection. It felt like it was his own skin. There was no discomfort at all. The battle armor wrapped itself even tighter, and its surface glowed like flowing water. There was also a formless tyrannical aura of kingship surrounding Xiao Chun as the battle armor appeared, making him look like a human-shaped dragon. If Xiao Chun continued cultivating this, when he brought out the blue dragon battle armor, his entire physical body would change, forming a physique that was somewhere between a human and a dragon. Kassier. With a thought, sharp spikes popped out of Xiao Chun's arms, ankles, and other joints. Then he stretched his limbs and clenched his fists. He could feel a gushing, river-like energy. Fortunately, this was a superior room with sufficient space and decent soundproofing. This allowed Xiao Chun to familiarize himself with this new blue dragon battle body without worrying too much. Right now, a normal Great Perfection blue-robed emperor is no longer a threat to me. I just don't know how big the gap is between me and half-step Emperor Wu. Xiao Chun withdrew the dragon power from the blue dragon armor and returned to his white robe. His eyes revealed a fiery light as he murmured. The blue dragon body nourishing secret art had stabilized at the 3rd tier, and his strength had increased. This made Xiao Chun extremely eager to fight, and he really wanted to have a great battle with the half-step Emperor Wu. However, he was not an arrogant person who would make trouble out of nothing. He would never take the initiative to provoke a half-step Emperor Wu or think that he was invincible in the blue-robed Emperor realm and challenge a few Great Perfection blue-robed emperors at the same time. Xiao Qin's mental state allowed him to control the inflated confidence that came with his increase in strength. All the major characters who had seen him before, like the Haotian Emperor and the Flame Rock Sovereign, were extremely shocked by Xiao Qin's mental state. It was truly remarkable for Xiao Qin to have such a mental state at such a young age. As the saying went, the greater one's ability, the greater one's desire. Many outstanding talents in history could not overcome this obstacle of desire, ruining their bright futures in their own hands. After sorting out his emotions, Xiao Qin intended to have a drink before leaving this chaotic place. After pushing open the door, Xiao Qin walked down the corridor. Just as he reached the corner of the second floor, he saw another argument about to turn into a fight. The status of this restaurant in Treasure Dragon City was somewhat like that of the Conflagration restaurant in Dark City. Because there were secret passages leading to the underground market, it had always been very popular. Going in and out, there were many people at every moment, and this was how the conflict arose. Someone in the hall wanted to go out. In the end, an extremely fast youth knocked into that person. The youth who knocked into that person had a fiery temper and started cursing on the spot. Where did this dog come from? How blind? How dare he block my Duguao's path? How reckless? How could the middle-aged man who was knocked into endure this? He had not even lost his temper, yet the person who knocked into him became angry. How preposterous! An intense fight immediately unfolded. Although fighting was prohibited in the underground market, it was not prohibited in the restaurant. The people in the restaurant were used to fighting and whatnot. Seeing that there was something interesting to watch, a group of people came over from the railings of the various floors with wine cups in hand to watch the excitement. Everyone remained as calm as still water, chatting and drinking, commenting on the situation. This was one of the wonders of the Dragon Grave Sea. It's this Dugu Ao again. He is still as arrogant as before. That middle-aged man is probably in trouble. He is probably new and has not heard of Dugu Ao's name before. When Xiao Qin heard the discussions, he could not help but feel interested in this Dugu Ao. Based on the discussions of the others, this Dugu Ao was about 50 years old. Dugu Ao looked extremely young. Clearly, he had advanced to martial sage long ago. However, his appearance would not change beyond 100 years old. Of course, in the Kunlun realm, 50 years old was indeed a very young age. One could not use the standards of Xiao Qin's previous life to look at it. Xiao Qin asked the person beside him, "What is this Dugu Ao's background?" That person wore luxurious clothes and took a sip of wine. He seemed to be in a pretty good mood. That person introduced excitedly, "This fellow's background is incredible. He is one of the top 10 young experts of the Human Demon Sea. He is only 50 years old, but he already reached consummation blue-robed emperor. There will not be any problems with him advancing to martial emperor in the future. How enviable. Thinking about it, I spent 100 years as a great perfection blue-robed emperor before I advanced to consummation blue-robed emperor. That is already an incredible talent. Compared to this fellow, it is nothing." Xiao Qin felt enlightened. However, he did not think that it was incredible. Becoming a consummation blue-robed emperor at 50 years old was indeed an incredible talent. However, compared to his generation, he was still far from it. Not to mention Xiao Qin, just comparing Di Wux's group of people who knew what kind of improvements they had in the astral battlefield. As long as they could persevere and survive, they would probably have reached great perfection blue-robed emperor by now. Furthermore, most of them were only about 30 years old. Given the talent of this group of people, they would not have any problems breaking through to consummation blue-robed emperor in less than 5 years. If they had some other fortuitous encounter, they might even be able to reach consummation blue-robed emperor in 2 or 3 years. As for Xiao Qin himself, even without the blood sword sovereign's life and death art, he would be able to reach consummation blue-robed emperor in another 3 years. In this great age, when those outstanding talents with luck improved, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they advanced by leaps and bounds. Why do you look like you're not convinced? The cultivator in luxurious clothes, holding up a wine cup, raised his eyebrows. Xiao Qin smiled and did not say anything, continuing to watch the intense battle between the two in front of the door. After watching for a while, Xiao Chun guessed the result. Although that middle-aged man was also a consummation blue-robed emperor and was pretty strong compared to Dugu Ao, his movement technique, strength, martial technique, and physical body was far weaker. However, compared to Dugu Ao, Xiao Chen's movement technique, strength, martial technique, and physical body were far inferior. Defeat was just a matter of time. Now that Xiao Chen knew the result, he lost some interest and stopped paying attention to the battle in front of the door. Taking advantage of this opening, Xiao Chun picked a good seat on the second floor and ordered a table full of food and wine, minding his own business as he ate. However, the result somewhat exceeded Xiao Chen's expectations. Just as the middle-aged cultivator was about to lose, a half-step Emperor Wu appeared. A strange black snake tattoo hung down on this dazzling bald man's head, covering half of his face. That snake head happened to overlap with his left eye, looking extremely sinister. The moment the bald half-step Emperor Wu revealed his cultivation, he immediately shocked the crowd and saved that middle-aged cultivator. Big brother. When the middle-aged man saw the bald man arrive, he revealed an expression of joy. So, it is a friend of the bald-headed snake, Wu Ke. No wonder he dares to oppose Dugu Ao. Clearly, this bald man was quite famous. Many people in the restaurant knew him. The moment he appeared, many people recognized him. Young man, there is no need to be too arrogant. I will not bother with you this time. Wu Ke looked coldly at Dugu Ao. Then, he quickly led the middle-aged cultivator away from this place. Although Dugu Ao did not fear this bald man, he knew that he was not a match for him. If he fought head-on, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Seeing the other party leave, Dugu Ao cursed unhappily. Then, he headed for the second floor. Dugu Ao looked around and immediately spotted a good spot for Xiao Chun. Then he walked over. Scram, I've taken a fancy to this spot. This was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. To the others, Dugu Ao's actions were very normal. I'm stronger than you, so I have the authority to tell you to scram. If you're as strong as a half-step Emperor Wu, you can tell Dugu Ao to scram as well. When most people encountered such a situation, they would pinch their noses and leave. In the Dragon Grave Sea, this was not a big deal. Interesting. This brat was unconvinced earlier. Now that he ran into Dugu Ao, he has no choice but to accept it. The well-dressed man who introduced Dugu Ao to Xiao Chun earlier said with a smile as he held up his wine cup. Xiao Chun ignored Dugu Ao's words. He calmly drank his wine and ate as if he did not hear what Dugu Ao said. You are seeking death. Dugu Ao was already in a bad mood in the first place. Earlier, he suffered at the hands of the half-step Emperor Wu. Now, an insignificant, great perfection blue-robed emperor dared to clash with him. His anger immediately flared up. Dugu Ao raised his hand and punched at Xiao Chun. At this moment, a light suddenly flashed in Xiao Chen's calm eyes. Xiao Chun gently flicked his right hand, and one of the two chopsticks in his hand flew at Dugu Ao's eyes like an arrow. The other quickly spun and clashed with Dugu Ao's fist. Whoosh! The strong wind was like a saber. The spinning chopsticks kicked up a sharp gale, blowing up all the hair in front of Dugu Ao's forehead. This allowed Dugu Ao to see even more clearly. The chopstick stabbing at his eyes was like an unparalleled treasure saber, boundlessly sharp and containing a horrifying saber intent. Dugu Ao's face sank. He had not expected to run into an expert. His thoughts raced. He could not think of any other way to deal with this, aside from retreating. Bang! When the spinning chopsticks struck Dugu Ao's fist, he immediately felt pain. Without hesitation, he quickly pulled back his fist to protect his eyes and quickly retreated. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. His right hand moved as fast as lightning, moving at a dazzling speed to grab the chopsticks flying at Dugu Ao's eyes. When Xiao Chun retreated, the second spinning chopstick happened to turn around. The two chopsticks returned to Xiao Chen's hands. Then, he picked up some food and drank some wine. However, he still did not look at Dugu Ao. After testing the waters, Xiao Chen's simple and miraculous two chopsticks easily forced back the enraged Dugu Ao, shocking everyone present. Chapter 1189. If not for the people present having extremely sharp eyes, they would not have been able to tell that Xiao Chun had stopped picking up food. The most shocked person was none other than the finely dressed man. He choked on his wine and coughed endlessly. Dang! Xiao Chun put down the wine cup in his hand heavily. Then, he raised his head and looked at Dugu Ao with a sharp gaze. He said, I was just looking for someone to practice with. You're a pretty good opponent. However, this place is too small. I believe you feel restricted as well. How about we go somewhere else? Dugu Ao was indeed a pretty good opponent. Xiao Chun was not lying when he said that. Dugu Ao was strong even among the consummation blue-robed emperors. Dugu Ao's earlier punch had been executed in a moment of desperation. There were countless openings. Even though Xiao Chun easily forced him back with 2 chopsticks, he could not deny Dugu Ao's strength. Xiao Chun could clearly recognize this point. If Xiao Chun wanted to defeat Dugu Ao, he would have to put in some effort. After all, Dugu Ao was 20-odd years older than Xiao Chun and possessed great talent. Furthermore, he was a demon mixed blood. However, that was all to it. Dugu Ao was just slightly harder to deal with, not enough to scare Xiao Chun. Dugu Ao was young and frivolous, brimming with vigor. How could he endure such provocation? He grinned and said, It is just some flashy moves, and you dare to spout nonsense in front of me. You're truly bold. I will do as you wish. You can choose any location in this treasure dragon city. The two of you are outstanding young talents. There is no need to make such a big fuss over such a small matter. Just as the two prepared to make a move, a voice rang out in their minds at the same time. This was a voice projection. Furthermore, it was sent to 2 people at the same time. The technique was very exquisite. Xiao Chen's and Dugu Ao's expressions changed at the same time. They both sent out their senses, try to find the person who sent the voice projection. In the end, the two were somewhat shocked to discover that they could not find the person who sent the voice projection at all. He had seen the two's every move and was clearly not far away. However, with the two's cultivations, they did not discover the other party immediately. Xiao Chun swept out with his spiritual sense and could only determine a rough direction. The person who sent the voice transmission should be in a private room on the 5th floor. However, they did not know which booth it was. The cultivation of the person who sent the voice projection should be much higher than theirs. Half-step Emperor Wu. In their minds, these 4 words appeared at the same time. There was actually a half-step Emperor Wu in this restaurant. Immediately, they did not dare to act rashly. They did not know what the person who sent the voice transmission was planning. There's no need to keep looking. If the 2 of you are willing to stop here, you can stay at this restaurant tonight at noon. I will give you a good fortune. The meaning behind his words was clear. He fancied the strength of the 2 of them and wanted their help. When Dugu Ao heard that, he relaxed. This was not the first time he encountered such a thing. In the Dragon Grave Sea, those who wanted to adventure in the Dragon Grave Sea would usually team up and explore together. Aside from a few bold and talented people, very few people would travel alone. However, this was Dugu Ao's first time encountering a half-step Emperor Wu wanted to team up. This immediately piqued his interest. Consider yourself lucky. There's something going on today, so I'll let you live for a few more days. Dugu Ao smiled proudly and ignored Xiao Chun. Then, he went to another table and started eating. Xiao Chun also guessed the intention of this person. However, he did not know what the other party was up to, so he decided to wait and see first. When the person who sent the voice projection saw that the 2 did not make another move, he stopped speaking. Clearly, he already had the 2 in his grasp. Ao Jiao, do you think I should go on this trip? Xiao Chun was originally planning to leave. When he suddenly received such an invitation, he could not help feeling interested. Why not? This person is so secretive. Furthermore, with the strength of a half-step Emperor Wu, he still wants to find helpers. Clearly, the dragon grave that he wants to explore is extraordinary. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, rationally continued her analysis for Xiao Chun. The most important thing is that with your current strength, you should be able to escape unscathed from a half-step Emperor Wu. You can consider yourself qualified to work with this person. You do not have to fear him playing any tricks. In that case, I'll listen to you. I'll go and see what's going on tonight." A tense battle suddenly came to a halt. This confused several of the cultivators on the second floor. However, this was the Dragon Grave Sea. There would never be a lack of topics to talk about. Soon, the restaurant regained its bustle. Xiao Chun returned to his room and took out an essence stone to cultivate. Then, he quietly waited for the other party to summon him. The cultivation of the essence stone allowed Xiao Chen's cultivation speed to improve at a gratifying rate. It had only been a short month since Xiao Chun left the Black Sea. However, he already reached the peak of great perfection, blue-robed emperor. Right now, Xiao Chun was using the essence stone to temper his cultivation, laying down a good foundation. After cultivating to the peak of great perfection, blue-robed emperor, Xiao Chen's heavenly laws had already doubled, reaching more than 20,000. Furthermore, as Xiao Chun continuously tempered his heavenly laws, they became extremely dense, not loose at all. There would not be a situation where the heavenly laws only had quantity but no quality. Now, Xiao Chun only needed to continue tempering his heavenly laws and obtain the flower of life and death fruit. Then, he could use the life and death art to condense a heart of an emperor and break through to consummation blue-robed emperor. The night was as cool as water, and the moonlight was clear. Xiao Chun, who was cultivating, heard soft footsteps. He opened his eyes and stopped cultivating, knowing that the news he was waiting for had arrived. Knock! Knock! Someone knocked on the door. A manservant outside said, "Dear guest, there is an honored guest in a private room on the 5th floor who has an invitation for you." Xiao Chun pushed the door open and accepted the invitation. After asking which private room it was, he sent the manservant away. There was no content in the invitation. It was just an invitation that did not reveal anything, making it seem extremely mysterious. "I hope that you will not disappoint me." After putting away the invitation, Xiao Chun carried some anticipation and caution as he went to the 5th floor and knocked on the door to the private room. After presenting the invitation, someone invited him in. It turned out that there was a secret room inside. There was a secret pavilion in the private room. There were many people in the secret pavilion, including Dugu Ao, who had already arrived. There were a total of 9 people. Including Xiao Chun, there were 10. With a cursory glance, Xiao Chun had a rough idea of the situation. Aside from the black-clad old man sitting in the middle, who was the half-step Emperor Wu, the other 8 people were all consummation blue-robed emperor cultivators. The other 8 were all consummation quasi-emperors. Furthermore, they were more or less on the same level as Dugu Ao. Regardless of whether they were stronger or weaker, they all hid very deeply. A middle-aged couple sat on the right. They carried swords on their backs. Among the group of ruthless people, they were the ones with the least evil aura. Beside the half-step Emperor Wu was an extremely aged old man. This person was probably the oldest in the entire secret pavilion. Xiao Chun estimated that he was at least 800 years old. This old man wore a straw raincoat and looked very aged. He looked like he did not care about the affairs of the world. When he saw Xiao Chun arrive, he did not even bat an eyelid. There was also a great fatso with a lustful expression. He did not hide his gaze as he stared at the pretty, middle-aged woman with a sword on her back, making that middle-aged swordsman very unhappy. The remaining 3 were 2 women and 1 man. They were all from the fiend race. Their baleful auras were very dense. Who knew how much blood they had on them? One of the women was from the poison spider race. She used black spider silk to make an indistinct spider silk robe. She had a voluptuous figure and a sinister face, giving off an enchanting air. The poison spider race was considered a rather rare fiend race in the oceanic world. Xiao Chen's gaze lingered on them for a while longer. One of the women was from the silver shark race. She wore a black veil on her head and showed a cold expression. Xiao Chun could not make out what she was thinking. The other was a fiend race man from the huge elephant race. He had dark skin. When he saw Xiao Chun arrive, he appeared extremely hostile. This was an extremely elite and luxurious team. Not only did they have the half-step Emperor Wu leading them, but the consummation blue-robed emperor that came was also an excellent one. With such a strong team, what kind of dragon grave could they not enter? Yet the leader of this team was still worried, inviting Xiao Chun and Dugu Ao over. Boss Yang, even if you cannot find anyone, you don't have to make up the numbers. You even managed to recruit the great perfection blue-robed emperor. The huge elephant race man said indifferently when he saw Xiao Chen's hostile expression. Not just anyone can go. Don't throw your life away. After saying that, the huge elephant race man took a step forward and placed his hand on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Then, he exerted force, wanted to push Xiao Chen out. The huge elephant race was famous for their boundless strength. They were born with great physical strength. Just a gentle push from them could exert millions of kilograms of force. Everyone knew that the speed at which vital chi circulated was much faster than law energy or veritable essence energy. With a thought, one could send out their vital chi. When several people saw the dark-skinned man suddenly make a move, they expected what would happen next. Xiao Chun would definitely get pushed out and crash into the walls of the secret pavilion. However, to their surprise, when the dark-skinned man made his move, Xiao Chun, who was wearing the fleeting shadow gloves, arrived first and placed his hand on the dark-skinned man's shoulder. After that, there was a loud bang, and the dark-skinned man's body shot out like a cannonball. Then, he fell to the ground, caught off guard. This scene was rather comical. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes lit up. When they looked at Xiao Chun again, they all revealed cautious expressions. This was especially so for Dugu Ao, who was clearly surprised. He had not expected Xiao Chun to have such great physical strength aside from his flashy actions. While Xiao Chen's speed was a factor in pushing the huge elephant race cultivator away, his physical strength could not be underestimated. Enough. There is no need for you to test the person I chose. The half-step Emperor Wu raised his head and rapped the table, shouting to stop the dark-skinned man, who wanted to get up and continue fighting. Everyone has no objections to Dugu Ao's strength. I believe everyone has no objections to this little brother's strength, right? Yang Kai said indifferently. To be able to make a giant elephant race cultivator suffer such a great disadvantage in terms of vital chi, how could we have any objections? The fatty said with a smile, making the dark-skinned giant elephant race man extremely unhappy. However, due to Yang Kai's face, the dark-skinned man could not lose his temper, so he could only endure sullenly. All the cultivators expressed that they had no objections. After Yang Kai introduced himself, he looked at Xiao Chun and said, "Since little brother is here, you must have guessed some of my thoughts. In that case, I'll make it short. This old man discovered an 8-star dragon grave that no one has visited before in this dragon grave sea. If little brother is interested, you can join us." Chapter 1190. If you're not interested, it does not matter. I will knock you out and make you sleep for a few days, lest news of us leak out. An 8-star dragon soul. Furthermore, it was an 8-star dragon soul that no one had visited before. With a thought, Xiao Chun somehow understood why this Yang Kai was so mysterious and even cautiously invited so many people. Yang Kai wanted to form a large and luxurious team of elites. Right now, nearly all the known dragon graves in the Dragon Grave Sea have been visited by people, raiding them over and over again. Even if they could gain something, it wouldn't be much. Under such circumstances, it was easy to imagine how valuable an undiscovered dragon grave would be. The reason why Yang Kai invited so many people was none other than an 8-star dragon grave. It was already second only to that great forbidden land of the distant sea dragon grave. While it was valuable, the risk was ridiculously high. Even with Yang Kai's half-step Emperor Wu's strength, he would not be able to take it all by himself. As for knocking out Xiao Chun and making him sleep for a few days, that was probably just a lie. If Xiao Chun did not agree, the people here would definitely gang up on him and silence him. This matter concerned their own interests. How could they show any mercy? Xiao Chun thought for a while and finally chose to agree. He also wanted to see what kind of treasure land an 8-star dragon grave was. Good. Little friend Xiao Chun is indeed righteous. In that case, I will say this first. I will take 20% of the treasures in the dragon grave. You can split the rest evenly based on your own abilities. Of course, the scattered treasures along the way will belong to whoever finds them first. There's no need to split them evenly. Yonkai suggested a relatively fair method of splitting the treasures. Then he continued, since you are all on the same team, you are all in the same boat. No matter what grudges you have in the past, as long as the team is not disbanded, you are not allowed to kill each other. This is especially so if you kill each other for the treasures. I'll say this first. I will cripple whoever makes a move first. The danger of an 8-star dragon grave is greater than you imagine. Don't harm the entire team over this trivial matter. Given the strength of the half-step Emperor Wu, Yonkai's words were very threatening. Of course, it was hard to say exactly what would happen. Which one of them wasn't an arrogant and unruly existence, who didn't have the strength to protect themselves, dared to cooperate with half-step Emperor Wu? Everyone expressed that they would not do such a thing. Then, he raised his head and said, "Good. If you have nothing to prepare, you can set off now." None of them had anything to prepare, so after a brief discussion, they went their separate ways and gathered at the seabed outside the Treasure Dragon Island. After all, a team of 10 people would be too eye-catching. It would be easy for news to leak. Xiao Chun, be careful. Although there are many burial items in the 8-star dragon grave, it should be equally dangerous. Who knows what strange things you might run into? Just as they were about to set off, Ao Jiao reminded him. Every time Xiao Chun took a risk, she would worry about him. Xiao Chun nodded and said, "I know. I still have that golden plume feather, that little yellow feather left behind. It is enough to escape. It's best not to use it." Ao Jiao thought to herself, "If I open the treasures left behind by the Thunder King, my strength should increase. At that time, I will be able to help Xiao Chun a lot." Xiao Chun only hoped that everything would be fine with Xiao Chun before that happened. Half an hour later, everyone had arrived at the agreed location under the sea. Yonkai led the way without saying a word. Following Yonkai's footsteps, the group descended continuously. 10,000 meters, 20,000 meters. After descending for more than 100,000 meters, they reached the bottom of the sea. This place was already in the deep sea. Occasionally, one could see some strange glowing fish, colorful corals, and all sorts of mines amid the darkness. The world at the bottom of the sea was not dull. There were huge trees, winding seamounts, strong ferocious beasts, and many others. Clearly, Yonkai was very familiar with this area, having explored it several times. With great familiarity, Xiao Chun led the group to a continuous, towering underwater mountain range and stopped. Whoosh! Yonkai propped up a huge energy barrier and isolated the seawater, encasing everyone inside. Then he pointed in a direction and said, "That is the entrance to the Dragon Cave. However, there's a formation sealing it. We need to break it forcefully." The group looked in the direction Yonkai pointed. 10 kilometers away, 2 ancient, mottled stone doors locked a huge cave. "Let me do it." The dark-skinned man of the huge elephant race stepped forward and walked out of the energy barrier. Then, he started running wildly in the seawater. The huge energy caused the seawater to surge. Yonkai did not stop him. He had checked the stone doors of this cave before. After so many years, the might of the formation had decreased significantly. It would not be difficult to break them. Bang! Xiao Chun punched the stone doors, and the entire mountain range started to shake. Countless stone chips fell off the stone doors. However, there were no obvious cracks. Boom! 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 After 10-odd punches, the stone doors shook and looked like they would collapse at any moment. However, they did not collapse. They were very resilient. Yonkai frowned slightly. The toughness of these stone doors surpassed his expectations. Even after so many years, they could still withstand such torture. Yonkai raised his head and looked at the middle-aged couple. Then he said, "Help him." The middle-aged couple each formed a sword art, and the swords on their backs came out of their scabbards with a clang. They were like 2 deep-sea dragons, traveling 10 kilometers in one breath and crashing into the stone doors. Bang! The stone doors completely shattered. Then, the 2 swords returned to their scabbards. This extremely beautiful move attracted many gazes. The dark-skinned man was the most depressed. After spending 10 odd punches, the two swords shattered it. Let's go. After we enter, do not split up. After Yang Tian said that, he took the lead. The group of people followed behind. However, Xiao Chun, who was at the back, felt that the atmosphere here was somewhat strange. So he used the dragon-seeking art to check the geomancy of this place. In the end, he was somewhat surprised to discover that this place was not the place of the dragon renegade. As the saying went, those who go with it live, those who go against it die. Only the dragon vein, where the dragon renegade resided, was the best place to bury the dead. As Xiao Chun continued to speculate, he was shocked to discover that this was not the dragon vein where the dragon renegade resided. Instead, it was a place where the dragon veins intersected. This thought flashed in Xiao Chen's mind. Just as he was about to continue thinking, he discovered that Yang Kai was already looking over. So, Xiao Chen stopped speculating and followed. Not wanting to arouse the other party's suspicions, Xiao Chen quickly followed behind the group and headed for the entrance of the dragon grave. The instant Xiao Chen entered the pitch-black entrance, he strangely discovered that although the stone doors were shattered, the seawater could not flow in. As Xiao Chen continued walking, the space inside grew larger. Buildings appeared one after another. The style of the buildings was unique. They were crude and simple, giving off a feeling of strength. Compared to the extravagant style of the modern buildings, these buildings appeared rather plain. However, they did give off a feeling of the ancient era style. Most of the remnant was very dilapidated. The buildings had collapsed, and people were lying all over the place. It was difficult to see the full picture, which was somewhat unfortunate. The others were not interested in the buildings of the dragon race's era. They had already experienced it in other dragon graves long ago. However, the further in the group went, the more they felt that something was wrong. This dragon grave seemed too calm. The surroundings were filled with the sound of a group of people stepping on rubble. The strange atmosphere in this quiet environment made one's hair stand on end. It was cold and sinister at a depth of more than 100 kilometers. Walking in an undiscovered dragon grave was not very comfortable. Xiao Chen looked around and felt that this place did not look like a dragon grave. It looked like a corner of an ancient-era city. How could a dragon grave be built in a city? As Xiao Chen felt suspicious, he used his strong spiritual sense to capture some indistinct black qi in the air. That qi seeped out from the ground. It was extremely small, but extremely sinister. Xiao Chen was not the only one who sensed it. Dugu Ao, the human-demon mixed blood, was extremely sensitive to this demonic qi. After he sensed it, he frowned slightly and reported his discovery. I don't know what's going on with this place, but there is actually demonic qi seeping out from the ground. After hearing Dugu Ao's explanation, Fatso, who was in the group, added, "This place is indeed strange. It is ridiculously large. However, I do not see any natural treasures. All I see are all sorts of buildings and demonic qi. There's also demonic energy coming out. Is this a dragon tomb?" The others felt the same way. Aside from the straw-caped old man, they all looked at the half-step Emperor Wu, Yang Kai, at the front of the group. Yang Kai said indifferently, "I used a specialized secret treasure to test it. It should not be wrong. There is definitely a peak dragon race expert buried here." Xiao Chen had heard of a secret treasure that specialized in testing dragon graves before. This was a secret treasure unique to the Dragon Grave Sea. It could detect the aura of the Dragon Grave Master at the bottom of the sea within 1 kilometer. Then, it would display different stars based on the strength of the aura. Such a secret treasure was extremely rare. However, its accuracy was nearly 100%. Since Yang Kai said that, then it should not be wrong. The group did not dwell on this problem for now. They arrived at the remnant and cleared the passageways, walking here and there. When the group arrived at a winding corridor, they looked forward. Statues of dragon race cultivators stood on both sides of the corridor. They wore ancient battle armor and held halberds in their hands, standing upright with their heads held high. Indeed, these are the grave guards of the dragon race. They only appear in dragon graves. There are many of them. This is somewhat problematic. When Dugu Ao saw these dragon race statues, he relaxed his frown. The others were very knowledgeable and recognized the grave guards of the dragon race. After verifying that this was a dragon grave, they all revealed smiles on their faces. However, they did not act rashly. The grave guards of the dragon race were all as strong as the small perfection blue-robed emperor. There were nearly 200 grave guards in one corridor. They did not know if there were any more grave guards around the corner. If they were surrounded by so many mausoleum guards, even if they were lucky enough to escape, they would still be heavily injured. Charge over. The dark-skinned, huge elephant race youth appeared fearless. Without waiting for the group to discuss, he charged over. When Yang Kai saw the situation, he wanted to say something. However, after some thought, he could not be bothered to say anything, so he directly charged over. When facing these grave guards, there were no tricks. Although the dark-skinned, huge elephant race youth was rash, he did not have any good ideas. Directly charging over was the most direct method. Chapter 1191. So. The group moved very quickly. After taking 10 steps, the mausoleum guards on both sides of the corridor instantly came to life and charged at the group. The first to bear the brunt was the black-faced, huge elephant race cultivator. His strength was not as weak as the others imagined. The black-faced young man punched out, and the instant the statue jumped down, the head of the black-faced young man exploded. In this environment, he had a unique advantage by unleashing his explosive and swift moves. This allowed him to charge around unhindered, sweeping through everything before him. Don't be fooled by how ferocious he was right now. If the number of winding corridors increased, and he used up the law of energy later on, he would be the one to die the most tragic death. This place can't stop me. Great Fatso chuckled. Faced with the mausoleum guards that continuously jumped down, his body was like a rubber ball bouncing around. Although it was comical, it did not take long for him to catch up to the black-faced man at the very front. The middle-aged couple, who had been swinging their beautiful flying swords, paled in comparison to the huge elephant race cultivators in such an environment. Every step they took was arduous. However, the couple cooperated well. Although they moved slowly, they were not in any danger. The various sword images formed a screen of swords, blocking the mausoleum guards outside the screen of swords. The old man took out a fishing rod and sighed. I'm already so old, yet I still want to compete with the young. It's really not easy. Although he said that, the fishing rod in his hand was not the least bit careless. With the old Taoist combat experience, he made full use of the characteristics of the terrain in this corridor and turned it into his advantage. Every time Xiaochen attacked, he stopped at the right time, using the least amount of strength to kill the tomb guards, not wasting any of his energy. The extremely charming, venomous spider race woman felt somewhat restricted in this winding corridor. She could not bring out the advantage of her martial techniques. She didn't have the experience of the old man in the raincoat, and she wasn't like the middle-aged couple who helped each other. As a result, she was surrounded by danger. In this corridor, she was in the most danger. It wasn't that she wasn't strong enough, it was just that she wasn't suited to fight in such a complicated environment. The other fiend race woman was very domineering. She held a sharp silver saber in her hand, and a sharp saber chi shot out in all directions. She definitely would not allow herself to be surrounded. She rushed forward continuously. Dugu Ao smiled coldly as he executed an exquisite fist technique in this place. Combined with his movement technique and speed, he was able to perfectly bring out the state of his fist technique despite being surrounded. The river surged and flowed without end, causing him to be like a flood. He followed the concept of his fist technique and charged through the winding corridor. There were no mausoleum guards that could stop him. After a round of danger, everyone in the team displayed their unique martial techniques. Everyone had their strengths and weaknesses. Xiao Chun could tell who was stronger with one look. Xiao Chun more or less knew about everyone's strength. Xiao Chun had the easiest time walking through this winding corridor. Big Fatso was able to avoid the tomb guards with a flick. By relying on his movement technique, Dugu Ao could execute the perfect state of his fist technique despite being surrounded. This already showed the weakness of these tomb guards. Although there were many of them, they were not fast enough. Xiao Qin's Great Perfection Thunder Dragon Steps was no weaker than those twos. In fact, it was even stronger. Naturally, it would be easier for him to move. As Xiao Chen walked, every step he took left behind an afterimage. Every time, he brushed past a large number of tomb guards. Electric afterimages flickered. Xiao Chen moved through this dangerous killing corridor like he was taking a leisurely stroll, appearing very relaxed. Xiao Chen, who was originally the last to leave, quickly caught up to the venom spider race woman, who was surrounded by danger. Without saying anything, Xiao Chen immediately made a move to help, killing the tomb guards behind the venom spider race woman with a palm strike. When Xiao Chen's palm strike landed, dazzling saber lights came from the fallen tomb guards. Then, they became riddled with holes and could no longer climb back up. When the tomb guards behind were all killed, the venom spider race woman immediately felt much more relaxed. She thanked Xiao Chen, who was passing by. Xiao Chen nodded slightly in acknowledgement. He did not pay much attention to this. Even if he had not made a move, this venom spider race woman would not have died here. However, she would have ended up in an even more miserable state. The other party definitely had trump cards. Executing Thunder Dragon Steps, Xiao Chen continued forward. As he strolled, electric images flickered, allowing Xiao Chen to move unobstructed and at ease. Soon, Xiao Chen overtook the middle-aged sword-wielding woman. Although the two were slow, they were very safe. Since they did not need Xiao Chen's help, he naturally would not make a move on his own. As Xiao Chen watched the afterimages flash by, he brushed past the tomb guards again and again. The middle-aged couple felt startled. Unexpectedly, this Great Perfection blue-robed emperor, whom everyone initially looked down on, actually had so many tricks up his sleeve. Not only did Xiao Chen's vital qi rival that of a huge elephant race cultivator, but his movement technique was also very good. As Xiao Chen continued forward, he overtook the straw-caped old man. Now, this old man did not even need Xiao Chen's help. Given the old man's combat experience, he did not give the tomb guards any chance to surround him. Instead, he used the terrain to his advantage, swinging his fishing rod and squeezing the tomb guards together, restraining each other. I am indeed getting old. The youths these days are all scarier than the last. As the straw-caped old man watched Xiao Chen walk past him, he sighed in a manner that seemed both real and fake. Then, he swung his fishing hook, and the transparent fishing line tore off the heads of 3 more spirit wood guards. Then, they fell to the ground, unable to get up again. The next person Xiao Chen overtook was a silver shark race bladesman. This girl was clearly pretty, but when she moved, she looked ferocious and boundlessly tyrannical. However, when he moved, he looked ferocious and boundlessly tyrannical, causing others to involuntarily retreat when they saw him. The other party's saber technique was too tyrannical. The scattered silver saber qi nearly filled the entire corridor. Xiao Chen did not want to attract any trouble. He gently pushed off with his feet, and his figure drifted like a leaf, passing through the berserk and dense saber qi. The silver shark race bladesman stopped what she was doing. When she saw Xiao Chen's movement technique, she was slightly stunned. She thought to herself, this fellow is pretty strong. If I have a choice, I should do my best not to get into a conflict with this white-clad youth. As Xiao Chen overtook one person after another, the last person to leave, Xiao Chen arrived first despite starting later. He arrived at the vanguard, keeping pace with Dugu Ao, the great fatso, and the black-skinned youth. This was why Xiao Chen purposely hid his strength. If he wanted to, he might be on par with Yang Kai. However, there was no need to expose his strength too early. It was enough to follow behind the other party and ensure that he did not suffer any losses. The other 3, who were keeping pace with each other, all felt unconvinced and wanted to surpass each other. This was especially so for the great elephant race's black-skinned youth and Dugu Ao. Unfortunately, they all had their own strengths. It was not easy for anyone to surpass the other. The corridor wound around 9 times before reaching the end. Fatso, who was bouncing around like a rubber ball, immediately panted heavily after he stopped, feeling incredibly tired. The black-skinned youth, who had exhausted a lot of energy along the way, was also incredibly fatigued. He quickly sat down and circulated his energy to recover. Dugu Ao closed his eyes and rested, showing no intention of moving. Although his fist technique flowed endlessly, it was also endless. It had a kind of self-circulation effect, so the drain on his energy was not ridiculously high. However, Dugu Ao was also extremely tired and did not want to move. Only Xiao Chun appeared extremely relaxed, looking like nothing had happened as he sized up his surroundings. When Yang Kai saw this scene, he felt somewhat surprised. However, he did not think too much about it. Soon, the straw-caped old man rushed over without panting or blushing. After that, the silver shark race woman, the venom spider race woman, and the middle-aged couple arrived one after another. After the chaotic battle in the corridor, they managed to make it through without any mishaps. Yang Kai was not in a rush to scout ahead. He waited for everyone to rest and recover to their peak state before resuming their journey. At the end of the corridor was an empty remnant. After passing this remnant that did not yield anything, an ancient forest appeared before the group. An ancient forest appeared in front of everyone. The trees were blood red, and it was unknown how long they had been here. These are dragon blood trees. The ancient dragon race used their own blood to water these trees to grow. If no one visits this place, we will definitely be able to find some dragon blood flowers. Yang Kai could be considered experienced and knowledgeable, so he recognized these slightly sinister and terrifying ancient trees at a glance. Dragon blood flowers were natural treasures that grew in dragon graves. They were extremely precious and could strengthen a cultivator's bloodline and improve their aptitude. They were also one of the main ingredients for refining the dragon blood pill, worth cities. The dragon graves outside had been visited several times already. It was practically impossible to obtain dragon blood flowers. The large forest of dragon blood trees here gave everyone hope. They had heard of dragon blood flowers before, but this was their first time seeing dragon blood trees. We agreed that the natural treasures we find along the way will belong to whoever finds them first. Don't fight with me for them. The dark-skinned, huge elephant race youth was not afraid of any danger here. He was the first to charge into the forest. How could the others be willing to fall behind? They quickly entered the forest, searching for dragon blood flowers. Xiao Chun was also somewhat interested in these dragon blood flowers. They could improve one's aptitude and physical body and strengthen one's bloodline. To him, who possessed the blue dragon martial spirit, they should be even more effective. Maintaining caution, Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and entered this dragon blood forest as well. Silently, Xiao Chun arrived at a dragon blood tree. After making sure that there was no one around, he opened his heavenly eye. In this place, spiritual sense and perception were more or less limited. If one wanted to find dragon blood flowers, they could only rely on their eyes. With the heavenly eye, Xiao Chun held a great advantage. When Xiao Chun opened his heavenly eye, his vision immediately enveloped the entire forest. He could clearly see every tiny corner of the forest. These scenes turned into scenes flashing continuously in Xiao Chun's mind. 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers. Soon, Xiao Chun easily found more than 100 dragon blood flowers. Aside from a few that were too far away and difficult to obtain if someone got too close, Xiao Chun was confident of obtaining most of them. After the heavenly eye closed, Xiao Chun took a deep breath and unfurled the freedom wings. Then, he executed Thunder Dragon steps and started searching this dragon blood forest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xiao Chun, who was doing his best, moved like a shadow in the forest. He weaved through the place and collected the dragon blood flowers one by one. Chapter 1192. In the forest, the dark-skinned youth saw a dragon blood flower and immediately revealed an expression of joy. Then, he raised his leg to pick it. However, a figure flew over like the wind and landed on the branch first. Then, that figure picked the dragon blood flower. Xiao Chun, what is the meaning of this? I discovered it first. Are you trying to break the rules that Boss Yang set? When the dark-skinned youth saw that it was Xiao Chun, he became so angry that he trembled. He cursed loudly. showing that he would not let this matter rest. The angry shout attracted the attention of the surrounding people. As they looked at Xiao Chun, who was on the tree branch, they all had complicated expressions in their eyes. Xiao Chun was too fast, and his eyes were sharp. More than one person had seen Xiao Chun moving around. Every time he stopped, he would reap a harvest. Hence, they had long since felt jealous. Now that the dark-skinned youth had found a reason to do so, the others had other thoughts. More and more people gathered. Even Yang Kai appeared. Xiao Chun knew that the matter had blown up. His performance was too eye-catching. However, Xiao Chun did not show any fear. He looked coldly at the dark-skinned youth below and said, "You are overthinking. What Senior Yang said is that it belongs to whoever obtains it first. It is not that whoever sees it first gets it." Regardless of who saw it first, Xiao Chun saw it first. He had seen all the dragon blood flowers here with his heavenly eye. No matter what, Xiao Chun was in the right. The dark-skinned youth was slightly stunned. He had not expected Xiao Chun to retort like that. He was not good with words, so he did not know what to say. "I don't care. I saw this dragon blood flower, so you have to give it to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Xiao Chun said coldly, "Feel free to be impolite. Let's see if I am afraid of you or not." Seeing that the atmosphere between the two was getting tense, Yang Kai quickly said, "Xiao Chun, just let him have this dragon blood flower. You do not lack one. Even if all the people here were to work together, we would not have as many harvests as you." When faced with Yang Kai clearly siding with the dark-skinned youth, Xiao Chun did not think of taking a step back. "Just because I am capable and obtained more than others, I have to give it to someone else? That makes no sense at all. Furthermore, in this circle, if one showed weakness and took a step back, there would be no end to it. The human heart would never be satisfied. One cannot take even one step back." Xiao Chun remained indifferent. He placed the dragon blood flower in his spatial ring and held the lunar shadow saber in his left hand, silently expressing his stance. Just as Xiao Chun and the two were on the verge of fight, dragon flower, big saber, Xiao Chun, and dragon blood dragon saber. Dragon blood Xiao dragon blood flower. The blood in Big Fatso's hand was only half an inch long, but the piece of meat in its mouth was half the size of a palm. It could be seen how sharp its mouth was and how terrifying its antennae were. The situation was extremely strange. The sudden appearance of the crimson worms and Big Fatso's painful screams made everyone look over. Looking at the bloodworms devouring the meat at an extremely fast speed, they were shocked. "How dare you eat this Lord Fatty's meat? I'll crush you to death." Big Fatso was unable to restrain his anger. He clenched his fists, and it was impossible to tell how much power was contained in that clenched fist. Fatso's palms exploded. However, what was shocking was that when Fatso released his palm, the crimson worm was not dead yet. It flapped its wings and jumped onto Fatso's right cheek. With a few bites, it bit off a large piece of meat on Fatso's face. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw that bloody and horrifying face. The speed of the crimson worm was too fast, and the crimson worm was very resistant to pressure. Hence, this tragic scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. Whoosh! Yang Kai's reaction was the fastest. He flashed over at lightning speed and caught the crimson worm, saving Fatso's life. "Quick, let's go." This is an ancient mutated insect, the dragon bloodworm. It lives in groups. Let's go quickly. Let's go quickly." Horror flashed in the eyes of this half-step Emperor Wu. He did not explain much at all. He flicked his finger and killed the dragon bloodworm. Then, he took the lead and dashed into the forest. The others did not understand what happened. However, when they saw Fatso's miserable state, who would not feel fear, they could no longer care about the grudge between Xiao Chun and the black-skinned youth. They chased after Yang Kai, rushing forward. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sound of countless dragon bloodworms flapping their wings resounded in the forest. Many dragon bloodworms came out of the trees, a ridiculously large number. Xiao Chun and the others revealed extremely unsightly expressions. No one had expected such a situation. "We are surrounded. Yang Kai retreated from the front. Even with his half-step Emperor Wu's strength, he did not dare to leave the group and charge forward alone. In the blink of an eye, the situation had turned into a life-and-death situation. No one could relax in this dragon grave. The group formed a circle and faced the flying crimson worms. No one dared to be arrogant and fight them alone. Everyone had seen the toughness of the dragon bloodworms for themselves. Only by focusing their attacks into a line could they kill these dragon bloodworms in one strike. However, this way, the area of attack was much smaller. Against the thousands of dragon bloodworms everywhere, it was not easy to kill them. The 10 people moved extremely fast. They did not dare to relax at all, afraid that the dragon bloodworms would get on them. They were afraid that the dragon bloodworms would come into contact with them. When they thought about what had happened to the fatty and what would happen if the dragon bloodworms came into contact with them, no one dared to relax. Xiao Qian's physical body was very strong. However, he was not arrogant enough to let the dragon bloodworms test his physical body. The energy of the lightning saber soul was infused into the saber, not leaking out at all. Xiao Qian stood at the side and continuously sent out a screen of electric saber light. If there were no one behind him, even with Xiao Qian's strength, it would be extremely difficult for him to defend against these strange worms. Even now, he was not at ease at all. He was extremely nervous. Every time he swung his saber, he used his full strength. He had not been in such a mental state for a very long time already, when he used his full power. Even Xiao Qian was in such a difficult situation. The other situation was easy to imagine. The venom spider race woman shot out a spiderweb from her hand and caught many dragon bloodworms. However, before she could show joy on her face, the other dragon blood bugs flew over and chewed up the spiderweb in no time. Although it did not have any substantial effect, with this talent, it made things a little easier for her. Of the 10, the one who had the easiest time was probably the straw-caped old man. His straw cape was woven from some unknown grass. A formless smell spread out, reducing the number of dragon bloodworms on his side. However, this old man also had a cautious expression. He did not relax at all. The effect of that straw cape should have a time limit. There are fewer dragon bloodworms over there. Let's break out of the encirclement, the venom spider race man shouted as he looked in a direction with a strip of cloth covering half his face. Yang Kai glanced in that direction and said indifferently, "That is the direction to go back." The moment Yang Kai said that, several of the people who had revealed joy froze, no longer saying anything. Breaking out of the encirclement in the direction to go back would mean returning. No one would be willing to go back when faced with the temptation of an 8-star dragon grave. Don't hold back any trump cards. Old man, you take the lead. We will charge out together. Otherwise, we will exhaust ourselves here. Yang Kai moved his hands. In the blink of an eye, strong winds shot out, and densely packed dragon bloodworm corpses appeared under his feet. The direction that Yang Kai was guarding had the most dragon bloodworms. Naturally, he wanted to switch places with the straw-caped old man because of the straw-caped old man's straw cape. The straw-caped old man hesitated for a while before saying, "All right, I'll take the lead. However, this old man will say one more thing. You had best not have any other thoughts. Otherwise, we will all die here. Don't play tricks with your lives. Charge." The straw-caped old man, who had been looking somewhat lethargic, now gave off a strong aura. His horrifying might was no weaker than Yang Kai's. This old man had lived for a long time. His cultivation was ridiculously strong. When he suddenly erupted, it startled everyone. The others also knew that it would not be an exaggeration to say that this was a matter of life and death. So, they did not hold back any of their trump cards. The venomous spider woman let out a soft cry and revealed her demon form. She had transformed into a huge black spider with 8 legs, and each leg was as sharp as a peerless saber. With a single swing, a large number of dragon bloodworms were cut down. Yang Kai displayed his half-step Emperor Wu's strength. For the first time, he drew his weapon. It was an ice spear. As he swung it, it gave off a knife-like cold chi. Xiao Qian looked around. Aside from Dugu Ao, everyone else had revealed some of their trump cards. Even though Dugu Ao already had several wounds on his body, Shao Chun did not see him bring out the innate ability of his demon half-human bloodline. The 10-man team did their best to charge at the horrifying number of dragon bloodworms in front. Compared to the chaotic battle in the corridor earlier, the dragon bloodworms in this forest were even harder to deal with. Furthermore, this seemed to be only the second stage of the dragon grave. Everyone finally experienced the dangers of the 8-star dragon grave. With the 10 of them exposing some of their trump cards, they finally managed to charge through the forest full of dragon bloodworms. Everyone had more or less wounds on their bodies. Each bite from a dragon bloodworm tore off a large piece of flesh. Such a simple and crude method of injury was not only painful, but also impossible to recover from. However, Shao Chun felt somewhat depressed. As he looked at the wounds on his arm, which were much smaller than the others, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. Shao Chun's physical body was very resistant to these dragon bloodworms. He could not bite through them at all, so he did not need to be so nervous earlier. If Shao Chun had materialized the blue dragon battle armor, he would have been able to walk out of this forest unscathed. However, that was one of Shao Chun's great trump cards. He would not use them if he could. Damn, this fat lord really does not need to lose weight anymore. Fatso, who was the most severely injured, cursed in pain as he looked at the uneven wounds on his body. The others did not have time to laugh at him. They all anxiously treated their injuries. No one had an easy time breaking out of this encirclement. 1 hour later, Yang Kai was the first to stand up. He said, "Let's continue." Chapter 1193. The exploration of the dragon grave had just begun. Naturally, they could not stop here, so they continued moving forward with twists and turns. After that, they experienced several dangers comparable to the dragon bloodworms. Finally, they arrived at the burial ground. This was a place where the remains of true dragons were buried, a place with precious burial items. Strange, why is there a line of words here? Yang Kai, who was the first to enter the burial ground, had sharp eyes and saw a line of words on a stone wall. Let me see. The moment he said that, everyone's interest was piqued. The dark-skinned youth squeezed his way over and read, "The Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor was here. The Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor was here." When the dark-skinned youth read this, he was completely stunned. The others were stunned as well. This was something that one would normally laugh off when they saw it. However, it was happening in this 8-star dragon grave. Furthermore, it was an 8-star dragon grave that no one had visited before. A person from 10,000 years ago actually played such a joke on people of later generations. This was simply unexpected. Let me see if it's real or fake. This is too funny. The great Fatso did not believe it. He pushed away the dark-skinned youth and looked carefully. There were indeed 8 average-sized words on the stone wall. The words were written in a flamboyant style, containing a strong aura. This allowed these simple words to remain clear and intact even after 10,000 years. Yang Kai frowned and said, "It is hard to say if it's real or fake." However, the person who left these words was able to tear space and enter the dragon grave. He was definitely an expert. The words he left behind also contained a formless aura. He infused his mind, qi, and spirit into them. He was at least a sovereign martial emperor. Yang Kai's cultivation was the highest. He was a half-step emperor Wu. The conclusion that he came to was very convincing. The Qing Emperor was here 10,000 years ago. What good things could there be? We're going to end up empty-handed. This is really depressing. After overcoming so many difficulties and arriving at this burial ground, we still end up empty-handed. It is hard to say. Given the Qing Emperor's judgment, he might not be interested in these burial items. Perhaps he just passed by and did not touch anything. The group of people discussed among themselves. They were all shocked by the sudden appearance of these 8 words, and there were all sorts of discussions going on. The most shocked person in the crowd was naturally Shao Chun, who had seen several portraits of the Qing Emperor. He was extremely familiar with the aura of the Qing Emperor. With just a glance, he was able to confirm that the words were left behind by the Qing Emperor. It couldn't be wrong. Standing in front of the stone wall, Shao Chun was in a daze. He stretched out his hand and stroked the words. At the moment of contact, Shao Chun's expression changed greatly. and he took 10 steps back. Xiao Chen looked at these words in horror. Unexpectedly, the Azure Emperor's shocking martial technique was left behind in these words. The instant he touched them, he felt an aura that could destroy the world. In the boundless void, there was nothing but a saber slashing towards him. Xiao Chen felt like he was there, and the saber would kill him in the next moment. He could not resist at all. As long as the saber charged over, there would be no way for him to survive. This was the scene that Xiao Chen saw earlier. Under the cover of these 8 words, there was a powerful killing move. What is the Qing Emperor trying to do? Xiao Chen's heart trembled. He knew that the Qing Emperor would not leave these words here for no reason. When Xiao Chen thought about all the strange things he saw when he first entered, this dragon grave was definitely extraordinary. Don't touch it randomly. This is the writing of a powerhouse. It contains an unparalleled aura. It contains the essence, energy, and spirit of a powerhouse, as well as killing intent and aura. Be careful not to lose your life. Yang Kai warned as he looked at the retreating Xiao Chen. Yang Kai's words made the others, who wanted to touch the words, stop thinking about it. Xiao Chen glanced at this person and did not say anything about his discovery. He said sullenly, "Thank you, but I'm fine. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's quickly go and see if the burial items in the dragon grave are still there. That is the important thing." Fatso, who had a cloth bag tied to his face, said anxiously, changing the topic. Yang Kai glanced at him and said, "Come with me. According to what we agreed on earlier, if there are any burial items, I will take 20%. You will split the rest evenly after that. I will be the one to take inventory of the treasures here." "That's what we should do." "Boss Yang, don't worry," the dark-skinned youth said. The others all expressed their agreement. This time, Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction. Then, his figure flashed as he headed to the front of the burial ground. Inside the sturdy cave, in the depths of the burial ground, the group saw the towering remains of a true dragon. Beside the remains were boxes filled with them. Presumably, it contained the funerary objects. It was just that he didn't know if it had been opened by anyone. The true dragon remains were still there. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. With his true dragon remains, this trip was worth it. That's not right. Even though millions of years have passed, the true dragon remains of an 8-star dragon grave should still have lingering might. Although this true dragon remains is huge, its bones are glowing, and its spine is 200 meters long, it is not worthy of an 8-star dragon grave. The straw-caped old man's eyes lit up. After he glanced at the true dragon remains, he immediately voiced his doubts. The others suddenly understood and also noticed this mysterious phenomenon. This is probably not the main grave. The remains of the dragon grave's master are still somewhere else. Let's not care about that for now. The boxes here have not been opened yet. The burial items are still there. Let's split the things here first. Yang Kai's expression showed that he did not care too much about this problem. As he spoke, he opened a box. Damn, there are so many essence stones. When everyone saw the treasures in the box, they could not help exclaiming. There were rows of glistening essence stones piled up in the box. There were at least 2,000 of them. Yang Kai suppressed the excitement in his heart and continued opening the box. There was another box of essence stones. After opening 12 more boxes, 10 of them were filled with essence stones. The crowd piled them up into a small mountain. When they counted the number, there was a total of 25,000. Everyone had smiles on their faces. This trip was worth it. The other 2 boxes contained all sorts of dragon race secret treasures. Without exception, they were all Peak King grade secret treasures. There were more than 20 of them. No wonder there were so many adventurers in the Dragon Grave Sea. Even before they finished exploring it, they already had such a harvest. This was indeed a holy land for adventuring, worthy of people rushing over. Yang Kai said, "Good, let's split it up now. According to our agreement, I could take 5,000 of these essence stones and choose 4 Peak King grade secret treasures first. Since the true dragon remains are still intact, we will not dismantle them first. When we are outside, we will sell them as a whole and split them evenly." Although the others were dissatisfied with such a split, they could still accept it. After all, Yang Kai was the strongest. Furthermore, he was the one who discovered the dragon grave, so there were plenty of burial items. Xiao Chen did not mind. Of all the scattered gains along the way, he was the one who obtained the most, so he was already very satisfied. Dong, dong, dong. Just as Yang Kai prepared to split the treasures, a group of uninvited guests suddenly appeared at the fork in the burial ground. The person leading this group was the bald-headed Wu Ku, the half-step Emperor Wu, with a snake tattoo on his head, who had stopped Dugu Ao back then. With Wu Ku in the lead, the other group also had about 10 people. They were also all consummation blue-robed Emperor teams. Their strength was no weaker than that of Xiao Chen's team. When this group of people saw the mountainous pile of essence stones, their eyes immediately lit up with intense greed. When facing this group of people that suddenly appeared, the 10 people on Xiao Chen's side instantly kept their guard up, coldly looking at the other side. Although this was rather surprising for them to run into other teams in this unvisited dragon grave for the first time, these people were all experienced. However, the people here were all experienced. They did not panic at all. They were very experienced. Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and said, Wu Ku, unexpectedly, you found this dragon grave as well. The bald-headed Wu Ku smiled coldly and said, I was wondering who came in before me. So it is you? In that case, I'm not surprised. Cut the crap. The burial items here are barely enough to split between the two teams. If you are willing, I can give you half, Yang Kai said, knowing Wu Ku's strength. He wanted to reconcile with him, if possible. A murderous intent flashed in Wu Ku's right eye, which was covered by the snake head. He said, Don't you know my style? Attack. Unable to reconcile, Yang Kai decisively made his choice. He spoke at the same time as Wu Ku. The sudden battle was on the verge of breaking out. In the relatively vast burial ground, Yang Kai and Wu Ku were the first to fight. The others on both sides didn't hesitate either, each choosing their own opponent and fighting together. The sword-wielding middle-aged couple fought a pair of fiend-race brothers who worked well with each other. When the half-masked first fatso saw a pretty girl on the other side, he could not help but smile. Then, he excitedly leaped over, wanting to fight this person. Your opponent is me. However, he was blocked by a middle-aged man who was waving a long spear. This made him extremely depressed and furious. The straw-caped old man sighed. Then, his figure flashed as he charged at an old man of similar age on the other side. The silver shark girl's eyes blazed with murderous intent as she faced the pretty girl that first fatso had taken a fancy to. This girl was unparalleled in beauty. However, the flickering light in her eyes was incredibly cold, making one tremble in fear. Dugu Ao and a demon mixed-blood cultivator fought. The other party was also a youth. The two seemed to know each other and had some old grudges. When Xiao Chun saw this sudden chaotic battle, he felt that it was strange. Isn't this too much of a coincidence for Yang Kai to lead us here? Coincidentally, Xiao Chun arrived at this burial ground and bumped into another team. There were so many opportunities earlier, but they did not meet at all. Xiao Chun could not be blamed for thinking this way. He had always been cautious and liked to think ahead. It was better to be prepared. This was a team that was formed at the last minute. The members were not familiar with each other. Anything could happen. However, when this chaotic battle started, no one could avoid it. Before Xiao Chun could think too much, his opponent appeared. This person was also a bladesman. This bladesman wore tight black clothes, and his sharp eyes gave off an ancient air. Chapter 1194. With one look, it was clear that this was a wandering bladesman who made the world his home. The black-clad man carried a saber and walked over to Xiao Chun step by step. He smiled and said, This is great. My opponent is a bladesman as well. Furthermore, a true bladesman. I can feel the soul of a bladesman in you. Xiao Chun smiled and said, Unfortunately, I cannot feel the soul of a bladesman in you. Aside from the sharp saber intent and the vicissitudes of life in your eyes, there's also an inexplicable perplexity in them. That is a perplexity that a bladesman should not have. The black-clad bladesman was somewhat stunned to be seen through with one glance. He smiled and said, Your eyes are really sharp. If not for the fact that you do not have the cultivation of a consummation blue-robed emperor, I would not dare to challenge you. However, even if I cannot defeat you, it is worth it to die in the hands of a true bladesman. Make your move. Although this person's mental state had some flaws, Xiao Chun did not dare to be careless. For Wu Ku to take a fancy to this black-clad bladesman, there had to be something extraordinary about him. Xiao Chun raised his left hand slightly and raised the lunar shadow saber. Then he took 3 steps, each step leaving behind an afterimage. With every step, he sent out countless electric dragon images. Xiao Chun arrived before his opponent in the blink of an eye. Then, he executed the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber. The instant he drew his saber, he brandished it in 81 different trajectories. The black-clad bladesman's eyes lit up. Clearly, this was his first time seeing such a profound drawing the saber. However, he did not panic. He drew the saber on his shoulder and held it with both hands, not in a rush to make a move. He was sensing Xiao Chen's killing intent. No matter how many changes there would always be a true killing intent that would not change. Even if these 81 saber trajectories were all real, he only needed to find the one that contained Xiao Chen's true killing intent and break it forcefully. Then, he would be able to break this wave of attacks. Just as Xiao Chen's saber light was about to strike him, the black-clad bladesman suddenly made a move. He held his saber with both hands and swung it vigorously. A waterfall appeared behind him, and as he slashed with his saber, the waterfall fell right on top of him. Dang! The 2 sabers clashed, and all sorts of saber trajectories were broken. Xiao Chen's right hand, which held the saber, felt slightly numb. My flying flow strike is not bad, right? Although your eyes are sharp, in terms of combat experience and saber techniques, you are far inferior to me. You will lose this battle for sure. After knocking back Xiao Chun with 1 saber strike, the black-clad bladesman felt that he had figured out Xiao Chen's strength. His confidence soared, so he quickly charged over. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. The Qing Emperor's drawing technique was only his opening move. It was not even a killing move. His opponent had underestimated him. If he didn't explain himself, it would be better for the other party to underestimate him. That way, it would be easier for him to win. Saber shadows flew everywhere as the 2 of them fought back and forth. The entire boneyard was in chaos. Everyone fought their own battles. No one could be distracted. The strength of both sides was about the same. Both sides had their own strengths and weaknesses in the battle, and neither side had too much of an advantage. It was impossible to determine a victor quickly. 1 hour later, the victor of the first battle was decided. Although the great fatso on Xiao Chen's side did his best, he was not a match for the middle-aged spearman. The middle-aged spearman pierced Xiao Chen's chest with a spear. Xiao Chen's eyes opened wide, and he died with a grievance. This was how cruel the world of cultivators was. No matter how dissatisfied one was, being weaker often meant death. At this moment, in this intense battle, even if one wanted to retreat, it would be impossible. The middle-aged spearman smiled coldly and drew a spear. Then, he looked around the battlefield and joined his companion's fight with the black-skinned, huge elephant race youth. The situation tilted slightly in Wu Ku's favor. On Xiao Chen's side, the Venom Spider race woman defeated her opponent and killed him. Then, she joined in to help her companion. Xiao Chen secretly observed the situation, not in a rush to end the battle before him. He already had a good grasp of the black-clad bladesman's strength. The other party's saber techniques were very strong, and his law energy was relatively vast. However, his saber soul was only 40% comprehended. As long as Xiao Chun brought out his 60% comprehended saber soul without holding back, he could suppress the other party in an instant and end this battle. However, Xiao Chun did not do so. The reason was that this sudden battle looked like a coincidence. However, no matter how he thought about it, it was not a coincidence. The cruel battle continued. The 2 sides were about the same in the first place. The 2 leading half-step Emperor Wus did not show any signs of ending their opponent quickly. This battle could only continue, not stopping until one side was dead. Cultivators died, one after another, amid the sounds of fighting. The middle-aged couple on Xiao Qin's side and the black-skinned, huge elephant race youth died one after another. The number of people dying on the other side was about the same. The stalemate still showed no signs of ending. Pusiai, Dugu Ao and his opponent cried out as they struck each other at the same time, ending in a miserable mutual destruction. Seeing his opponent fall to the ground, Dugu Ao smiled bitterly with his pale face. "It's good that you are dead. I've had enough of these days." After saying that, Dugu Ao fell to the ground. "It's time to end this," the bald Wu Ku, who was fighting with Yang Kai, suddenly said. Yang Kai nodded. Then, his figure flashed as he suddenly attacked, charging at the straw-caped old man who had just defeated his opponent. That straw-caped old man had just heaved a sigh of relief. Before he could react, Yang Kai chopped off his head with his sword. The half-step Emperor Wu brought out his full strength. Yang Kai's figure flashed rapidly, killing one person with each sword strike. The Silver Shark Race Bladesman and the Venom Spider Race Woman, who were severely injured and nearly drained of their law energy. Caught completely off guard, they died at Yang Kai's hands before they could figure out what was going on. On the other side, Wuka moved quickly as well, killing off the remaining people on his side one by one. Something strange happened suddenly, without any warning. It was surprising, but not surprising. Pusiai. Before the black-clad bladesman fighting with Xiao Chun could react, a bowl-sized bloody hole appeared in his chest. Needless to say, the one who attacked was naturally the bald Wu Ku, the half-step Emperor Wu, with the black snake tattoo on his head. Subduing Dragon Profound Slash. Xiao Chun, who had been on guard all along, silently circulated his profound martial technique the instant the two half-step Emperor Wu attacked. A dragon image drifted about, and a resplendent azure saber light gathered on the saber. Holding his saber with both hands, Xiao Chun brought out his 60% comprehended saber soul. It was like he had eyes on his back as he hacked down with great force. Dang! The sound of the saber and sword clashing resounded. Yang Kai, who had easily killed 3 people, was knocked back 3 steps by Xiao Chen's saber strike, which Xiao Chun had prepared long ago. A look of shock flashed in his eyes. Wu Ku, who was on the other side, was clearly surprised as well. He immediately exploded the black-clad bladesman with a punch. Then, he glared at Xiao Chun with his right eye. Suddenly, the snake tattoo that matched Wu Ku's eye appeared. The black tattoo turned into a real snake. Its body continuously grew larger as it charged at Xiao Chun to bite him. This move was extremely sinister. It happened to take advantage of the moment when Xiao Chun turned around and withdrew his saber. This created a dead angle, catching him off guard. However, Wu Ku was not the only one with a spirit pet. Xiao Chun had one as well. A sharp bird cry rang out. Little Yellow Feather quickly came out of Xiao Chen's ring and spread its wings. It instantly entered a berserk state. All the feathers on its body turned golden, giving off a resplendent and dazzling light. When Little Yellow Feather clawed, it dug its claws deeply into the black snake's flesh, causing it to cry out in pain. Then, it changed its target, turning its head to bite at Little Yellow Feather. Pusiai. Little Yellow Feather opened its mouth and spat out a strand of dense solar true flame into the black snake's body. Immediately, the black snake cried out in pain. It fell to the ground and rolled around continuously, looking as if it was in extreme pain. Xiao Chun took advantage of the situation and spread out his arms, distancing himself from Yang Kai and the bald-headed Wu Ku. He hovered in the air, leaning against a wall as he looked at the two coldly. In just a few breaths of time, there were only 3 people left in this burial ground. Such an outcome was truly unexpected. The small mountain-like pile of essence stones flickered with light, giving off a boundless temptation. Then, Xiao Chun looked at the bleeding corpses at the side. The saying, "People die for wealth," was indeed true. Xiao Chun said indifferently, "The 2 of you have good means. This Xiao admires you. Everyone says that the dragon grave is dangerous. In the end, it is not as dangerous as the human heart." At this moment, some of Xiao Chen's doubts could already be resolved. Wu Ku and Yang Kai should have discovered this dragon grave at the same time. However, This 8-star dragon grave was too dangerous. If they did not find some scapegoats, they would not be able to enter the burial ground safely. Between the two of them, there should be a secret treasure that allowed them to communicate in private. Then, it created a coincidence that the two groups met in the burial grounds. With so many treasures around, the two teams would definitely engage in a battle to the death. This gave Yang Kai and Wu Ku a chance to deal with the others easily. Naturally, the fewer people who shared the treasures, the better. Wu Ku removed the solar true flame from the black snake's stomach and stood beside Yang Kai. He looked at Xiao Chun and said, "The ones who should be admiring you are the two of us. Facing so many treasures, you are still able to maintain a calm heart. This is not something that we can do." Yang Kai said with a smile, "Little friend, do you have anything to say before you die?" Two half-step Emperor Wu against one great perfection blue-robed Emperor. No matter how one looked at it, victory was assured. Although Yang Kai was surprised by Xiao Chen's strength and mental state, he did not think that Xiao Chen could do anything against two half-step Emperor Wu. Then go ahead and try. Let's see who will benefit in the end. Yang Kai's and Wu Ku's expressions changed at the same time. After thinking for a while, they suddenly felt that Xiao Chen's words seemed to imply something. "What do you mean?" Xiao Chen shouted. "What do I mean? Are you still not coming out? Are you waiting for me to drag you out? There is still someone not dead." Yang Kai and Wu Ku were startled. Who could have hidden so deeply, even deceiving the two of them? Or was Xiao Chun purposely trying to trick them? Youngsters these days do not know how to respect their elders. This old man is just seeking peace and quiet. There is no need to expose me. There was a drawn-out sigh. Suddenly, a head popped out of the headless corpse of the straw-caped old man on the ground. Then, they looked at the head that Yang Kai chopped off earlier. At some point in time, it had turned into a pile of dirt and merged into the ground. The straw-caped old man suddenly stood up, startling Yang Kai and Wu Ku. This old fellow was a true wily old fox. Chapter 1195. At the start, the two were the most worried about him. The straw-caped old man's combat prowess was not much weaker than theirs. Hence, Yang Kai's first goal was to kill this person. Unexpectedly, he still managed to fool them. If Yang Kai really fought with Xiao Chun, the one who would benefit in the end would be this old man. Perhaps all the treasures would end up in this person's hands. Thinking of this, Yang Kai could not help feeling a chill down his spine. "You've really hidden yourself well," Yang Kai said through clenched teeth. The straw-caped old man smiled and said, "This old man has lived for more than 800 years. What kind of tricks have I not seen before? You are far from being able to scheme against me. Do you think that I did not notice the little tricks you used to communicate with this baldy on the way here?" Then, the straw-caped old man changed the topic and said indifferently, "However, it is good now. With a large group of people gone, we will be able to split more things. Humans should not be too greedy. Young man, don't you think so?" The meaning in the old man's words went without saying. If the two of them did not listen, Xiao Chan would stand on Xiao Chen's side and fight to the death with the two of them. No one would benefit from this. Yang Kai and Wu Ku exchanged glances and quickly discussed the pros and cons. Given the strength of Xiao Chun and the straw-caped old man, they would definitely be able to kill one of them if they worked together. If they continued to be stubborn, the losses would outweigh the gains. The two quickly came to a decision. Yang Kai squeezed out a smile and said, "Senior's right. We should not be too greedy. Let's start splitting now." "Wait a moment." Xiao Chun suddenly spoke. Then, he walked over to Dugu Ao's corpse step by step. Dugu Ao was no longer breathing, and his corpse was ice cold. The others did not know what Xiao Chun wanted to do. They only saw him cut his palm with his saber, letting drops of blood fall into Dugu Ao's mouth. As the blood slowly seeped into his body, Dugu Ao's pale complexion slowly turned rosy. In the end, his body completely recovered its vitality. Dugu Ao was a mixed-blood human and blood demon. Like the blood sword sovereign from 50,000 years ago, he was a mixed blood. Vampires had extremely long lifespans and wouldn't die so easily. Not too long after the other party's life force had been extinguished, fresh blood could be used to revive the other party. This was especially so for Dugu Ao. Xiao Chun had observed him along the way. This person was rather special. Even at the critical moment of the battle, he did not use his blood demon's innate talent. For some reason, he would rather die than use the blood race's innate talent. Xiao Chun did not have the time to think about the story behind this. He wanted to save this person because he did not want this person to die too pitifully. It was just a slight effort, so he wouldn't lose anything. Whoosh! Suddenly, Dugu Ao opened his eyes. His eyes were scarlet, containing an uncontrollable, bloodthirsty, murderous intent. Die! As Dugu Ao spoke coldly, he raised his hand and thrust it at Xiao Chen's chest. What incredible speed! Dugu Ao thrust his palm forward like a sharp blade, so fast that there was no sound of wind at all. It was like he instinctively thrust his palm into Xiao Chen's chest, trying to dig out his heart. Dugu Ao's attack seemed to be even faster than when he was not injured. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's palm was closer to him. At the critical moment, Xiao Chun took the initiative to strike Dugu Ao's chest, quickly pressing him down. The blade-like palm stopped about 1 centimeter away from Xiao Chen's chest, unable to go any further. Little Yellow Feather, who was circling in the air, looked like a beam of light as it flew over at lightning speed. Little Yellow Feather spread its wings and let out a sharp cry as it glared at Dugu Ao. The flames in its mouth looked like they would spew out at any moment. Xiao Chen knew that Dugu Ao attacked under the influence of his murderous intent, so he did not bother with it. He only restrained the other party and waited for Dugu Ao to slowly recover. This fellow, seeing Xiao Chun revive Dugu Ao, displeasure flashed in the eyes of Yang Kai, the bald Wu Ku, and the straw-caped old man. There was no other reason. With one more person, they would have to split the treasures. The red light in Dugu Ao's eyes slowly faded. That uncontrollable murderous chi slowly faded away. When Dugu Ao calmed down and saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he was slightly stunned. After a while, he said, "I owe you a favor." A favor was the hardest to owe and the hardest to repay. In this world of cultivators, everyone had their own pride. A favor was more important than the sky. Even a cultivator with a bad reputation would abide by these words. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. It was just a small effort. Obtaining a favor was pretty good. Xiao Chun released his hand, no longer restraining the other party. Dugu Ao stood up and looked at Yang Kai and Wu Ku, who stood side by side. Then, he looked at the straw-caped old man and the corpses littering the burial ground. Then, he roughly guessed what happened after his death. As the straw-caped old man looked at Xiao Chun, he narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly. Unexpectedly, little brother still has a pure heart. However, this world is full of ingrates. In the future, if you get bitten by an ingrate, don't regret what you did today. Dugu Ao's expression froze, and a murderous chi flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chun asked indifferently, "Old sir, are you talking about me?" "I should say that I am definitely talking about myself. If I were not an ingrate, how could I have lived for more than 800 years with the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor? If I were not an ingrate, how could I be afraid of death, not even daring to undergo my great tribulation of wind and fire? Ingrates are indeed despicable. However, having an excuse to be an ingrate, because there are ingrates in the world, is even more despicable." Xiao Chen's words were like a knife stabbing into the straw-caped old man's heart, pricking the most sensitive part of his heart. Even with 800 years of self-restraint, the straw-caped old man could not endure it. His lips trembled as he roared, "You are seeking death." The straw-caped old man unleashed his aura, completely unleashing his horrifying cultivation. His heavy aura was like a huge mountain pressing toward Xiao Chun. The old man quickly swung his fishing rod, following this aura. The barb hook silently flew towards Xiao Chen's throat. Xiao Chen reacted quickly. He pointed at the air, and a cold light flickered on his fingertip. Then he pressed down heavily, shattering this faint but fatal fishing hook. A cold light flashed in the straw-caped old man's eyes. He pushed off the ground and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chen. Boom! 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 The old man's palm strike brought out his vast and heavy cultivation to its fullest. As he flew through the air, his aura was no weaker than that of the half-step Emperor Wu. Such a scene startled Yang Kai and Wu Ke. Fortunately, they did not attack Xiao Qin earlier. Given the straw-caped old man's strength, it would not be a problem for him to launch a sneak attack and injure the two of them in an instant. If you want to play for real, I'll play with you. Xiao Chun stabbed the lunar shadow saber into the ground and raised his hand to execute the 1,000-year death. Petals flew everywhere, and a blood moon filled the air. Every petal contained Xiao Qin's grief and worry. The force in his palm strike was endless, showing only the sorrow of separation and no joy. Bang! The two palms clashed. Relying on his advantage in martial techniques, Xiao Chun fought the straw-caped old man, who had a much higher cultivation, to a draw. The straw-caped old man's heart trembled. The other party's grief silently seeped into his heart. Scenes of cruel memories from a long time flashed in his mind. The straw-caped old man, whose law energy was denser and surged, was the first to retreat in this clash of palm strikes. After he stood still, he no longer dared to make a move. This brat is not easy to deal with, either. The 1,000-year death completely exposed Xiao Qin's strength. Now, Yang Kai and Wu Ke no longer dared to underestimate Xiao Chun. Never mind. So many people have died already. There's no need to make a big fuss. Let's split the treasures first. Yang Kai, who had single-handedly orchestrated this tragedy, acted as a peacemaker and spoke in a dignified manner. Xiao Chun scattered his palm strike and grasped the lunar shadow saber once more. Then, he looked coldly at the straw-caped old man and did not say anything more. Now that the straw-caped old man had a way out of this embarrassing situation, he did not continue to argue and calmed down again. The treasures started to be split. There were more than 25,000 essence stones. The 5 of them split them equally, leaving Xiao Chun with 5,000. For some reason, Dugu Ao did not say anything. He directly handed his share to Xiao Chun, not taking a single essence stone for himself. This action upset Yang Kai and Wu Ke. However, they could not afford to fall out with each other now. If they made a move on Xiao Chun and Dugu Ao, not to mention what kind of price they would have to pay. In order to protect himself, the straw-caped old man would definitely not let the two of them succeed. No matter how he thought about it, there was no chance. As for the dragon race secret treasures, Dugu Ao gave his share to Xiao Chun. As for the complete true dragon remains, due to mutual distrust, no one agreed to let a single person keep it and split it after they got out. They could only dismantle it and distribute it to everyone. Given this, Xiao Chun obtained 10,000 essence stones, 3 peak quality dragon race king grade secret treasures, and a set of true dragon remains. Xiao Chun was the one with the greatest harvest on this trip. Furthermore, he had obtained 100 dragon blood flowers from the dragon blood tree earlier. It could be said to be a great harvest. Yang Kai and Wu Ke had tried their best, but their gains were still not as good as Xiao Chen's. They were furious, but there was nothing they could do. I believe you all can tell that although this is a burial ground, the master of the dragon grave is not buried here. There are even greater benefits ahead. Should we work together to explore the depths of this dragon grave? Yang Kai suggested, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. The straw-caped old man was very shrewd with age. He remained expressionless and did not say anything. Clearly, he was waiting for Xiao Chun to speak. If Xiao Chun did not agree, the straw-caped old man absolutely would not travel with these two half-step Emperor Wu. Xiao Chun thought to himself, this dragon grave is extraordinary. The powerful killing move that Qing Emperor left behind is the best proof. Reason told Xiao Chun to quit while he was ahead. That was the best decision. However, the curiosity in Xiao Chen's heart was somewhat hard to quench. What kind of situation caused the Qing Emperor to leave behind a killing move and leave quietly? If Xiao Chun left just like that, he would not be able to solve this mystery for a long time. Just thinking about it was unfortunate. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was not a wishy-washy person. He quickly made up his mind and said, there is no harm in going and taking a look. If one did not figure out some things, one would not be at peace. Xiaoqian knew what kind of person he was. If he did not go and take a look, he would not give up.